What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto's blood awakened a desire curse that spread to every woman nearby? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. Please leave me alone, I didn't do anything to you. Naruto yelled as blood gushed from his body. He was battered and bruised in places he had no idea he had. His blood stained the ground as he tried to crawl away from the crowd of villagers. The mob of villagers sneered at him as they raised their weapons high in the air. A man stepped up, obviously the leader of the group, and yelled at the boy. "Begging isn't going to help you now, Kyuubi. Nothing will save you. We've been planning this for months. While the Hokage is busy with his lies on how you were supposedly killed, we can get our revenge on you and finally make what he preached into reality. Get ready to die, Kyuubi, you fucking animal." Naruto looked at the man like he lost his mind. He had no idea what was going on. This small mob broke into his newly bought apartment and kidnapped him. They tore up everything in his apartment. Nothing was left, not even his precious ramen. I didn't do anything to you. And I'm not the Kyuubi. What are you talking about? I want to go home. Naruto begged as the wounds and bruises started to ache ungodly. The crowd laughed at him, as a random person with a sword yelled to the jailer, "You're the Kyuubi. Nobody can kill a demon with your power. So the Yondaime decided to do the next best thing and seal you in a human child. But your will was too strong and you took over the poor child. You are the Kyuubi, there's no question. Now die." With that final scream, Naruto's world went black as the sword pierced his chest. End flashback. Naruto leaned against a tree as the visions came to an end. I'm the Kyuubi? That can't be true. Naruto said to himself, but no matter how bad he wants to deny what he has been told, he knows he can't. The beatings, the glares, the anger, the hate, it must be true. I guess that means I'm dead then, but I don't feel dead. I wonder how Naruto screamed into the air as another memory hit his brain. Flashback. Naruto opened his eyes to find himself in a tube full of cool green liquid. I'm tired. Can't move, Naruto thought as he glanced around the room. He was in what looked like an underground laboratory of something. "Hello Naruto-kun. My name is Orochimaru, your master," a voice said in the dark. "I have given you a new body and a bloodline to work with. You are my greatest work. I can't wait to see how you do later in the village. For now I'll send you off. You need to grow and reach your full potential. But we'll meet again, Naruto-kun. Grow strong, my pet," a pale man said as Naruto looked through a glass wall. The man was tall and very pale. He was wearing robes that looked like they were for a woman only. Naruto would have been more observant if he wasn't so deathly tired. What's going on? Naruto thought before the darkness overtook him once again, not noticing a seal on his chest glow a dull purple. Flashback end. Naruto's head snapped up as he caught his breath from the vision that seemed to be sending his body into shock. His breathing was labored as he tried to regain his balance. What's happening to me? Naruto said as he began his long walk to the village. New body? What was he talking about? Naruto said, only to collapses in the middle of the road. A villager took the boy to the hospital, not knowing who he is, mainly because Naruto didn't look like the Naruto we all know and love. In Naruto's mind, Naruto moaned as he started to stand, only to slip on the water under his feet. What the hell? Where am I now? Naruto said, but an animalistic growl ruined his train of thought. Naruto walked down the halls to where he heard the growl, only to find a large cage. Whoa, what the hell is that? Naruto said as a warning went off in the back of Naruto's head. Naruto took heed of that warning and rolled to the side, and just in time too, as a claw almost impaled him. Damn, I missed. It seems you're becoming used to your new body faster than I thought you would, a voice said behind the bars. Naruto glared heatedly at the demon. Hey, what was that for? Naruto yelled to the voice. His anger faded away as the huge claw retracted into the cage. Naruto stared at the cage as two huge dark red eyes with a slit in the middle of it. A horrid feeling came over Naruto as he jumped back in fear. Who are you? The thing inside the cage chuckled menacingly as the light became better for Naruto to see. Naruto watched nine tails flicker almost unseen to anybody else. Human, I have many names, but you may call me the Kyuubi no Kitsune. Outside of the boy's mindscape. Kakashi, have you found Naruto yet? It's been nearly 3 months and I've heard no word of him. A very old man in a red and white robe asked the man wearing a white dog mask on his face. Well, to be honest, Lord Hokage-sama, we have no idea. Kakashi said to the old man. The old man narrowed a brow at that response. Explain. Kakashi nodded swiftly, deciding not to press his luck. A few hours ago a boy was carried into the general hospital. We did some blood tests and DNA scans and things came out weird. The third Hokage gave him a look that clearly said goes on. The blood test came back saying that the boy was indeed Naruto Uzumaki, but his DNA said that he wasn't even human. The third glared at his subordinate, not liking where this is going. I don't understand what you mean. Why don't you give me more information? Kakashi nodded his head and took a deep breath. The DNA came back saying that he was Naruto, but it also seems that his DNA has a few new features. It's nothing demonic, so don't go jumping to conclusions, but he now has different kinds and types of animal DNA lodged into his own. The third's eyes widened as he jumped out of his seat and raced for the door. Kakashi, take me to him. Back in Mindscape. But how? I don't understand any of this. How can you be the Kyuubi? The people out there said I was the Kyuubi. So how is it that you're there and I'm here? This doesn't make any sense to me. Naruto said, yelling at the fox. You stupid monkey, you could never attain the power that I have. You're just a pathetic little earthworm who got a case of bad luck. You and I are two separate beings, you're you, and I'm me. Got it? The Kyuubi growled out, causing Naruto to fall on his butt. Naruto looked at the water as it circled him. Where are we? Naruto said in a dulled tone. We are in your soul, if you will, since I am bound here by that blonde rodent you used to call a Hokage. If it wasn't for this seal I would have killed you at a second's notice. Your leader didn't have a chance of defeating me, so he sealed me away into you. This must be another punishment for me, to be stuck in somebody like you. Naruto glared at the fox with the utmost hate. Because of the seal I am bound to your soul, so I demand you let me out at once. Naruto could only scoff at the fox. You insult me and you want me to do you a favor? Never. The Kyuubi rushed the gate, hitting it with all he got, but only made the beast bounce back. Naruto didn't flinch 1 second, feeling confident that the gate would hold strong. You piece of street trash. Let me out of this cage at once. Kyuubi roared, but seeing the look in the boy's eye he decided a new tactic is in order. If you let me out I'll give you power to take down your foes. Anything you wish I'll bestow upon you. Kyuubi bribed as Naruto shook his head, in a negative fashion, at the offer. I don't need anything you wish to give. Besides, you would betray me like all the others. Naruto said, clenching his teeth in anger as visions from the past filled his head. Anyway, I like you behind the cage, it's fitting for you. The Kyuubi roared as he slammed the gate once again. Tell me, Kyuubi, why am I here? I know you didn't bring me down here just to yell at me. The Kyuubi was silent for a few seconds but gave a sigh. For your information, I did not summon you here. You did it on your own accord. Because you were feeling weak, both mentally and physically, and you were looking for answers, your mind sent you here. I suppose you want your answers correct? Naruto nodded and said, who is Orochimaru and what did he do to me? That's the first thing I would like to know. When you were left for dead by that mob, that snake in the grass took you away from the village into an underground lab. Once there, he tore your body apart, breaking down your DNA and RNA. From there on he put different types of animal DNA and RNA inside of you, making you part human and part what you human call animal. A normal human could never survive something like that, but it's because of me you're alive. Kyuubi said, looking at the blonde. So he basically made me into an animal? Naruto said, looking confused. To me your species were already animals. You have the basic instincts of animals, and if put you in the wild alone you would go back to your more natural instinct. To me your kind really irks me. The Kyuubi said, sneering at Naruto. Your kind says that they're not animals, but in truth it's nothing but a lie. Your people say that about every living thing on this planet. If it's not a human it's automatically labeled an animal or a demon. That is a misconception. There is an animal in everyone, it's just how you embrace it. Kyuubi said with a smirk as Naruto nodded. Kid, you are about to wake up. So do me a favor and train yourself so something like this doesn't happen again. I'll be watching. Naruto could only nod wordlessly about all this. End Mindscape. Naruto moaned as he started to feel himself wake up. So he's really Naruto, huh? He looks so different from before? A voice came into Naruto's ears. Naruto opened his eyes as he glanced around the room to see nobody. The room was totally empty. There was nobody. Yes, he does look different. He looks nothing like he did before. Thankfully his DNA is somewhat the same for when it's time to learn of his parents. Naruto gasped as the thought of parents came into his mind. So the people that are talking know who my parents are. One of them sound like Hokage Gigi. So he knows my parent. He said I would learn in time, so I'll wait for now. It seems like he's talking out the room, but how can I hear him? Wait, did he just say I don't look the same? Naruto thought to himself as he raced to the bathroom across the room. No way. In his reflection was a somewhat pale boy who stood 5 feet exactly. He had long flat pure silver hair that stopped at his shoulders. Like Sesshomaru's but shorter, his whiskers were a little defined but not much to stand out to much. His hands were now something like claws. He apparently has gotten more muscle tone, as before he was scrawny and malnourished, now he was lean. His canines were longer. They poked a little out of his mouth. The biggest thing that was new to him was his eyes. His once pure blue eyes that can calm the hearts of souls were now a tranquil purple that made it look very mysterious and dangerous. Is that me? Naruto thought, but a chuckle interrupted his thought. Got it in one, kid, I forgot to tell you about that. Kyuubi said, making Naruto jump. Kyuubi? Shut up, kid, think in your mind. We don't need everybody on your back about me, Kyuubi roared in his mind, causing Naruto to get a small headache. Okay fine, how's this? Naruto could almost sense Kyuubi nodding his head in approval. I set up a small link for us to talk just in case you need advice. Not only that I get bored down here, Kyuubi said in a dulled tone, making Naruto sweat drop. So what's going on? Why is it that I look like this? Naruto asked while looking at his appearance again. The Kyuubi gave a low growl of annoyance at the white-haired Gaki. Listen, since your DNA and RNA has changed, many of your codons that made up your DNA and RNA had to be rebuilt. Because they were rebuilt and theirs was a very low % chance your codons will link up the same way it was. Your DNA is all random, but along with your now animal-like nature it only made things harder. Normally any human wouldn't even be alive through the things that Snake did, but it's all because of me that you're still alive. Kyuubi said as Naruto sat on the sink in the bathroom. I see. You told me to get stronger, but why would you care if I got stronger or not? Naruto asked as he walked back into the room. I am the mightiest of all my kind. I can't nor will I ever have a weak container. Since I live inside of you, my life hangs in your balance and I would very much like staying alive. I see, so what's the first thing I should do? Back to Naruto POV. That's pretty much how it all started. I didn't tell the third about me knowing about the Kyuubi. I did tell him I remember a pale man that looked like a snake though. That apparently got his attention for some reason. I didn't care though, I had other things to worry about, like my powers for one thing. Of course I did have a little trouble learning how to control them. End POV and back in flashback. I think that's enough reading for one day, Naruto said as he set the scroll down. Surprisingly, Naruto took up reading as a hobby. It was one of the things Naruto actually enjoyed. Naruto has already started learning from the Kyuubi on how to bring out his chakra. After every practice session he would only get better. Hey Akamaru, want to catch the frisbee? Naruto's ear twitched as he heard a bark from a small dog, but what really caught his eyes was the blue frisbee. Naruto just couldn't take his eyes off of it. It was almost like he was hypnotized. Okay boy, go get it, the boy yelled excitedly as he threw the frisbee off into the distance. Akamaru wasted no time going after the frisbee. Once Akamaru was right under it, he gave a powerful leap off the ground and snatched the frisbee right out of the sky. Well, he was going to, until Naruto grabbed it first, in his mouth. Naruto ran back to the boy, setting the frisbee down and panting much like a dog would. Do it again, Naruto said, sitting on 4 legs. Kiba looked at the boy in confusion until a smirk ran across his face. Sweet, here, catch this, Kiba said, throwing it high and very far. Naruto wasted no time going after the flying disc and jumped up much like a frog and caught it in his mouth again. Akamaru latched onto the frisbee, not willing to be shown up. Let go of the frisbee, biscuit, Naruto said, growling at the pup. No way, you let go. Akamaru yipped at the blonde as they tugged on the frisbee. Naruto, snap out of it, the Kyuubi yelled as it broke Naruto out of his trance. He let go of the frisbee, causing Akamaru to fall on the ground and tumble. His eyes widened in embarrassment. Naruto blushed and grabbed his book and headed straight home, ignoring the howls of laughter from the boy. "Kyuubi, why didn't you tell me sooner?" Naruto yelled to the beast out loud, not caring if anybody heard him. The Kyuubi could only chuckle. "It was fun seeing you making a fool of yourself in public." With that response, Naruto found a new hate in his life, and his name is Kyuubi no Kitsune. End flashback and back to POV. All good times. Ever since then, I guess you can say I locked myself in the library for about 2 years. All I did in there was animal research. I researched everything I could on any animal, trying to learn all I can. I did this because I was hoping to find out what I could do to control myself again. I also learned that I had other abilities available to me. One of the things I can do is see in the dark. Because of my eyes, I'm able to see long distances. Up to about 50 feet, then everything gets blurry. I can also run at extreme speeds when pushed. I can swim as fast as a fish. I can jump really far, much like a deer. One of the things I find really interesting is my ability to see without my eyes. If I were to lose the use of my eyes, I could always see by using sound vibrations in the air. It was weird, and to this day, I don't have complete control of it, but nevertheless it's a very interesting ability. One of the things I also enjoy is the ability to speak to other animals. Over those 2 years I entered the academy and started to learn about the ways of a ninja. Well, tried to. Since most of my teachers either ignored me or sent me out the class, not a lot of work could be done for me. Thankfully, the library helped fill any gaps I missed. That's when I decided to just forget about paying attention in class, or should I say look like I was. Whenever a teacher was talking, I would lay my head down on the desk and pretend to go to sleep. I made sure that I got the worst marks on a test, but still stayed in the range of passing. So to put it bluntly, because I had no choice, I became the dobi of the class. When we started to learn jutsus, I found them quite easy for some reason. It was weird. It was like every time I did a jutsu, I was adapting to the amount of charka to put in the jutsu. When asked the Kyuubi, he said, "You are an animal, remember? And as animals we adapt to fit our needs." That theory only got Naruto giddy about the uses of that ability. One jutsu, however, refused to work for him, no matter how hard he tried. The Bunshin no Jutsu. Clone technique. I have been told that I'm putting too much charka into it, and that causes the clone to overload. Every time I tried to place a very small amount of charka into the technique, it would fail. No matter how little charka I put in the jutsu, I just have too much charka to make the jutsu work. My social standings in class is a total letdown. You see, I'm the class clown. I figured it would cause people to underestimate me, and it does, much to my amusement. I decided to let it down when I graduate, seeing no reason to let it down during class. My main goal is to gain knowledge. I wish to be strong, so there's no reason to slack off. Of course, a little payback never hurt anybody. Like when I dyed all of the Hyuga's clothes bright pink one day. That made my day. One of the jutsu I learned over the years will be one of my favorite, and that's Kachiyose no Jutsu. Summoning technique. I don't really know how I got the scroll. It was just sitting on my bed one day when I came home from school. Kyuubi once commented that the dragons chose their masters. Thanks to the Kyuubi's help, I was able to summon one of the 5 bosses of the dragons, Byoku. A fire dragon with amazing power, and believe it or not, he was my partner. There are 4 dragons that are bosses. Fire is Byoku, Mizutara is water, Kazemaru of the wind, Raiden of lightning, and finally Dio of the earth. All have their own personalities and own powers. Byoku told me to do something that all dragons must do to gain power, and that is to gain wisdom. That only inspired me to get back to the books and learn all I can. Over the next few years of me playing the fool, I learned to take everything in the form of training. The beatings I get are one thing. I had to make everything I do into a lesson. Pranks help build trap making and stealth, thinking ahead and thinking on your feet, and keeping a cool head when you're caught. I made the beatings I get into speed exercises and basic instinct stretching, not only that, just pain tolerance. Of course, that didn't mean I had to like it. Since the academy never taught me much of anything for 3 years, I had the dragons and Kyuubi teach me things. The dragons helped me make my taijutsu, which I named after the dragons after seeing how they move. I named it the Soaring Dragon. It's basically me using charka to ski across the ground to make it look like I'm floating. I have good use of balance and strength, which helps a lot. The Kyuubi taught me more practicable things. Just like any kitsune, Kyuubi has a human-like form. During his past endeavors, whenever he was going to kill someone, he would change into that form. Kyuubi taught me how to cook and how to be more polite around important people, but I never really paid attention to the last one. I guess you can say over the years me and Kyuubi kind of grew on each other. When the final exams came, I planned on passing, only to find that my test was under a genjutsu. I couldn't release it, seeing how I had no control of my chakra and I would probably make it look like I was cheating, so I just took the test knowing I'd fail this part. When it came to the taijutsu test, I decided to just use the academy style, and because of that Mizuki nearly killed me. I could see the cold rage hidden in his eyes. He wanted to kill me. I knew I had no way of passing since the jutsu that they were asking for is impossible for me. I failed in the end. My new sensei, Iruka, that came into the school year too late to help me, gave me the news of my failings. To me, I felt like quitting, seeing that I had no chance if everybody's just going to hold me back. Well, that was until Mizuki-sensei came up and offered me a chance to pass. So he thinks I'm stupid, huh? Well then I'll just let him think so, then corner him. Besides, there must be some good jutsus in that forbidden scroll. That pretty much explains what's been going on so far. Right now I'm in the forest reading the scroll, seeing as I got a few hours to learn from it. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shadow Clone Technique. I said to myself as I read the description on what the jutsu could do. I couldn't help but chuckle as ideas started to swirl around in my head. Oh yeah, we're going to have so much fun with this jutsu Kyuubi. The Kyuubi could only give a low chuckle and smiled his fox smile. Ah, let's show our primal nature when the Chunin gets here. Naruto only gave a deep laugh as a wicked smile came across the 12-year-old's face. Naruto hair now reached about to his mid-back and his canines had grown. Why not? I am an animal. Not really, as I'm only using them if something big happens. Just like in the anime, Naruto only uses his summons if he really needs them. What's the pairings? I have no idea as of now. I don't really want to do a Naruto's Sakura because I feel she doesn't really deserve him. All the crap he goes through just isn't right. Naruto's Hinata. I'm favoring it, but unless I get any suggestions the pairing will remain none. Also, if any of you would like to know what Naruto looks like right now, go to my page and click on the links on there. I would like to note that Naruto isn't really wearing what's in the picture, but it's close enough for what I want. I would like to thank Challenger for giving me the picture. Also, I'm looking for a beta, so if anyone would like to help, please IM me. Summary. The beast that attacks in a flash of an eye. The beast that preys on the weak. The beast that has the howl that can put even the bravest of people on edge. Unleash the animal within. Naruto, why did you take the scroll? Yelled a man with the basic Chunin style of dress. The only thing that put him apart of generic Chunins was a scar on his nose. Naruto threw on his mask and smiled at the Chunin. I see you found me, Iruka-sensei. Naruto rubbing the back of his head. You're damn right I did. Now answer my question, why did you steal the scroll? The silvered-haired genin raised a brow to the Chunin, playing his mask for what it's worth. Nani, what are you talking about? I thought this was a second chance to pass the exam. Mizuki said if I stole the scroll without being caught I would be able to become a genin. Naruto said, deadpanned, catching Iruka's stunned look and hiding his darker thoughts. That's right, Chunin, fall into that man's plan. Naruto thought as he hid a smirk from Iruka. It wasn't that he disliked Iruka, just that all his life, he's been seen as an outcast. Iruka never did a thing for him. Hell, he never helped him when he needed it. Granted, he was the most neutral towards the silver-haired boy, but that didn't do much for Naruto. Not only that, Naruto quite literally was locked into the library. Since nobody ever wanted to talk to him, he grew into being an antisocial person. Of course, the people around him didn't deter him one bit. I mean, really, who would want to be friends with people who insult him? Not happening. A sound cut him out of his inner thoughts as he was roughly pushed away. Naruto looked at Iruka in shock as kunais and shurikens cut through his body. Naruto wasn't really shocked at the weapons, he was more shocked that Iruka pushed him out of the way. This action confused him. Naruto didn't understand not one bit. Why? Why did he push me out of the way? Why would he wish to save me but not himself? Naruto thought to himself as he stared at the Chunin holding his wounds. No one has ever done that for him. The Kyuubi deep in his mind was silent, wanting to know himself. Well, it seems you beat me to him, Iruka, good job. Mizuki said, sneering at Iruka. Iruka ripped out the weapons as he coughed up blood. Why? Why did you trick Naruto like this? Iruka questioned as Naruto looked at the pair silently. To his shock, Mizuki chuckled until his chuckle turned into a menacing laugh. I've tricked him? Please. This whole village has been tricking him his whole life. You've all have been keeping a secret from him ever since he was born. Naruto reeled back in shock. Another secret? How many has that old man kept from me? Naruto thought as he frowned silently. Secret? What secret? Naruto asked, walking a little closer to a kunai, seeing as he left his at home. I'll use that kunai just in case he attacks, but for now, I'll act like I didn't see it. Naruto thought in his mind. No, don't tell him. You know we are forbidden to speak it, let alone tell him. Iruka said as he held his wounds, trying to stop the bleeding. Naruto ignored the chunin as he waited for Mizuki to tell him this so-called secret. What's this secret that I don't know about? Mizuki could only smirk as his idea to break the child came into play. The Hokage never wanted you to know. He kept this secret hoping that you never turn back into your real self. The only reason he's being nice to you is to gain your trust. Mizuki said, seeing Naruto narrow his eyes in somewhat agreement. That's not true. The third Hokage would never do something like that. Naruto. Whatever you do, don't believe what he said. Iruka said, sneering at the traitor. Naruto gnawed on his bottom lip in frustration. Will someone please get to the fucking point? What's this secret? Tell me, Naruto yelled. The one thing Naruto didn't have was patience. He got that from the Kyuubi. The secret is that you're the Kyuubi that attacked our village. Didn't you think it was weird that your birthday was on the day of the Kyuubi attack? That every day of your life has been nothing but hell. People overcharging you, the beatings, eating rotten food. I'm surprised you're still alive. So before I take that scroll, I'll do this village a favor and do what the fourth Hokage couldn't. Mizuki said with a maniacal gleam in his eyes as he took off a giant shuriken and started to swing at his hand. Time to die, Kyuubi, Mizuki said as he threw the buzzing blade. Naruto reached down to grab a kunai, but before he could, Naruto was pushed to the ground. Squish. Naruto's enhanced nose smelt blood as he glanced up to see Iruka leaning over him, taking the shuriken to the back. Why? Naruto said, becoming even more confused as he saw Iruka cough up blood. Why is he trying to protect me? I don't understand? Naruto. I was just like you growing up. Always getting in trouble. I just wanted to be noticed. When I was assigned to teach your class, I was mad, because I wanted nothing to do with you. After a while I thought if I ignore you maybe you'll go away. I could never see how much that really affected you. After a while you started to shun everybody from getting close to you. And I was sad. You were alone and sad and I didn't do anything to help. I'm sorry. Those pranks you pull, I was always happy. This showed me that there was always hope. That you didn't go into the dark side. Naruto, please do not believe what he said. Don't fade into the darkness. Iruka said as tears started to gush down his face. Naruto didn't care if Iruka's tears started to hit his face. To him, this meant a lot for him. Why? Why do you care so much? Why did you take the blow for me? Naruto had to know. His whole being depends on it. Iruka gave a pained smile. Because I consider you someone precious to me. Someone to cherish. Naruto gave a sharp gasp at that. No one, not even the Sandaime Hokage, ever said that to him. Precious? Such talk. He hates you, Naruto. Now shut up and die. Mizuki said as he took off his last shuriken. Iruka pulled the shuriken out of his back as he leaned against a tree. Naruto, please run. I don't want you getting hurt. Iruka said as he prepared himself for Mizuki. So, this is it. Iruka thought as a smile came to his face. He heard Naruto grunt as he caught the shuriken. Iruka was dumbfounded. He only knew a few jonins that can catch a giant shurikens with their bare hands and not be bleeding. Iruka looked at Naruto's hand only to see a small amount of blood running down Naruto's hand. Naruto, I told you to run. You aren't strong enough to face Mizuki. Iruka said as Naruto started to smirk. His smirk turned into a full-blown laugh. Iruka and Mizuki looked at him like he lost his mind. Naruto calmed down as he glared at Mizuki. All these years you two couldn't even see through my mask. I admit that you were close, Iruka-sensei. So very close, but in the end you still don't know the real me. Naruto said, not taking his eyes off of Mizuki. What do you mean, Naruto? Naruto growled at Mizuki, making his eyes widen in surprise. I've been holding back for years. Naruto said as he flung the shuriken back at Mizuki. Mizuki dodged the shuriken amazed at how fast it was going. As soon as he put his eyes back on Naruto he was met with a fist in his stomach. Mizuki coughed up blood as he felt himself being picked up and falling to the ground. Mizuki hit the ground in extreme pain. The overall pain he got, with getting hit in the stomach and falling on the ground from the tree was pretty great. I didn't know he could hit that hard. Mizuki thought as he got back to feet. How did you do that? Mizuki asked gasping for air as he glared at the boy. Naruto chuckled as he put on a smile that looked frightening but still controlled. You really shouldn't have told me to come out here and learn one jutsu from the scroll. That was your biggest mistake. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Shadow Clone Technique. Mizuki and Iruka stood in shock as 1,000 Narutos came to the field. What the, is this really Naruto? Iruka thought as he looked at the field in disbelief. He wasn't the only one as Mizuki started to back up in shock as he now knew he was outmatched. So with one final scream the beating began. Man, that really cleared all my frustrations. Naruto said as he looked down at the human? He certainly didn't look like one. Naruto? Iruka asked, breaking Naruto out of his thoughts. Naruto didn't know why but he gave Iruka a soft smile as he sighed. Hey Iruka-sensei, you okay? Iruka nodded as he smiled at his student's concern. Hi, I'm okay Naruto. You sure did beat on Mizuki, how about we drag his body back to the Hokage's office? Before Iruka left the clearing Naruto looked at Iruka and said, thank you. Iruka looked down at Naruto as he looked at Naruto's peaceful expression. All he could do was smile and nodded. For once, I think I did something good in my life. Iruka thought as he wiped a tear from his eye. They walked back in peaceful silence enjoying each other's company for the first time. About 10 minutes later, and that's what happened Hokage-sama. Iruka said as Naruto watched the old man nod. As soon as they got to the office, Iruka went into explaining how it all went down. Before Naruto walked through the door though Iruka gave Naruto his headband to show that he graduated. Naruto had to control his emotion or he would have hugged the man. So Naruto's mask is somewhat in place now. All through the meeting with the Hokage though, he couldn't help but not trust the old man. All the lies he tells him wasn't right. They were his secrets, not anyone else's. Who the hell does he think he is, not telling me my damn secrets? But then again, you would have to be a real idiot to not notice a huge fucking seal on her gut for 12 years. Naruto thought as the Kyuubi gave a small chuckle. I see. Well then why don't you get patched up Iruka, you did great protecting Naruto. Hiruzen Sarutobi said to the Chunin. Naruto bristled at the comment but kept his anger in check. I didn't need help you spineless old monkey. He seems to have little faith in you doesn't he? Kyuubi growled out deep in his mind. Naruto didn't answer only glared at the old man. Once Iruka left, the third lit his pipe as he took in a breath of smoke. Naruto I know you have questions, so I'll do my best to answer them. Naruto nodded not letting up the glare. Did you ever intend to tell me about the Kyuubi? Naruto asked intensifying his glare. I was going to wait until I thought you were ready. Manly around the time you hit Chunin. Hiruzen said as he stared Naruto down. He was a little sad at the way Naruto was acting. He thought he would be depressed but Naruto seems to be more angry than anything. It was like he was a different person. He was only trying to protect him. Naruto. Do I not know you at all? So you were going to just hide this secret about me? What right do you have? This secret is about me. You have no right to decide when I'm ready to hear something. Naruto said calmly as his glare intensified with every word he spoke. It may be his animal instinct or it may just be Naruto, all he knows is that he's pissed. Then again it is the way of the animal. Once something is betrayed, one can't trust the betrayer ever again. Naruto you have to understand. No, you have to understand, Naruto yelled interrupting the Hokage. This secret is about me not you. When I was younger I took so much pain, the worst thing is I didn't even know why. Do you know how that feels? I bet you even know who my parents are don't you? Naruto asked, yelling recalling the past of when he heard the third talk about his parents. Naruto was angry, why shouldn't he be right? They didn't have a right to keep something from him. If he would have known at birth, maybe things would have been different. Naruto I'm afraid I really don't know who your parents are. Naruto's eyes caught the lie that was hidden in Hiruzen's eyes. Naruto gave out a growl but didn't do anything. He just backed up and started to walk over to the door. Hokage-sama, the third flinched at that. I'm taking my leave now. I must say before I leave that I have lost my trust in you. All I see in your eyes are just lies, after lies. I can no longer trust you, so good day. Naruto said as he slammed the door, leaving the third with a pained expression on his old face. Maybe I waited too long. Hiruzen looked at the picture of the fourth on the wall and shed a tear. I'm sorry, Minato. I failed in your son. Back with Naruto. So, now that you had a talk with the old monkey, what will you do now? Kyuubi asked as Naruto walked out the Hokage office. I have about a week before I have to report to the academy. Since I never really had a chance to practice many jutsu, I thought I could do some more training. Kyuubi nodded in his mind as he accepted this answer. Are you going to just train in ninjutsu? I guess that would take the whole week. Naruto just chuckled as imaged himself waging his finger at the Kyuubi. My dear furry friend, what if I found a way to get a year of training in only one day? Naruto said, putting his body on autopilot as he went into his mind as his body heading home. I would call you a liar. There is no way that can be true. Kyuubi said in a fake acting kind of way. Oh my friend, it is very real. The answer of this new training program is Kyuubi drum roll. Naruto asked as Kyuubi attacked the back of his cage with his tails. The sound of drums flew into his ears, making Naruto smile. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Anything you learn with the clone goes back as experiences back to the user. The silver-haired boy said as his clothes transformed into a snazzy business suit with a mic in hand. Really? I want that jutsu. Naruto put on a smirk as he said, and you can have the jutsu. This jutsu would usually cost 1 million ryu, but I'll put a discount on it for a grand total of 2,000 ryu. Oh yeah, no refunds. I taught you well, kid. If the whole ninja thing goes south, you could always be a traveling salesman. Kyuubi said as he wiped a tear from his eye as Naruto laughed at their antics. Do you know what kind of jutsus you want to learn? Kyuubi said, getting serious seeing how their playtime was over. I once read about a card that can tell you what your elemental affinities. I intend to buy one, under henge of course, to find out what's my affinities. I'll train in that for a few days. Then I'll start work on my taijutsu with the dragons. The Kyuubi nodded as he hummed to himself. Fine, I'll wake you up at the usual time. 5:30 a.m. Kid, wake up. Kyuubi yelled as Naruto shirked much like a cat as he latched onto the ceiling with his claws. Damn it, Kyuubi. Why do you always do that? Naruto yelled as he heard Kyuubi laughing his furry ass off. Ha, that never gets old, Kyuubi said as he wipes a tear from his eyes. Come on kid, get your ass in gear, we only have a week. Kyuubi said, going into drill sergeant mood, making Naruto sigh. Today's going to be a long day. Naruto said as he got ready for his training. You see, this is how Naruto's day always went. Ever since the accident, the Kyuubi had made it a priority to train non-stop every day for their, or more of the Kyuubi's survival. Naruto's day started off with a run around the village. At first it started with 2 laps. If Naruto could finish both labs before 6 o'clock on the dot, then he would have mastered his training. Whenever Naruto got close to beating the time, Kyuubi would add more laps to make things much harder. At the age of 11, Naruto has figured out that this type training has been made to increase his speed and stamina. So with that, Naruto never stopped. Naruto is up to 10 laps so far. After laps, damn it. Pant, I'm still not. Pant, fast enough. Naruto said as he laid down on the ground in a training field. This training field was the farthest away from the village and was one of Naruto's getaway spots. Sweat drenched his body as he lay in the rising sun. He could hear people buzzing around in the village even at this hour. Once Naruto got enough air in his lungs, he decided to get back to work, much to the disdain in his leg muscles. Naruto bit his thumb and made a few hand seals before he slapped his hand on the ground. Kachiyose no Jutsu. Summoning technique. Naruto yelled as smoke overcame his being. It was then he noticed he was standing on the head of a dragon. The dragon was something to be feared by just the way it looks. The dragon had green scales with something akin to yellow armor like scales going up its stomach. Its wings were more like fingers as they had 5 spaces between them. He stood on 2 legs as a gust of wind surrounded him. The claws of the beast were purple with a tap of red at the end, giving them a deadly warning to others. Its tail was swinging back and forth as hair similar to Naruto's covered the ends of its tail. Look at profile to see a picture. The dragon plucked Naruto off of its head and looked the genin in the eyes, yellow met purple. Naru-chan, why have you summoned me? I was having a race against Byakuya. Do you know how pissed he'll be if I were to win? You ruined my fun, the dragon said with a high-pitched voice as he glared at Naruto half-heartedly. Ah, my bad Kazemaru. I didn't know what was going on, please forgive me. Naruto said bowing. Kazemaru sent a small wind gale to Naruto knocking him over. All is forgiven my young friend. Now tell me, why did you summon the almighty Kazemaru? Kazemaru said puffing out his chest. Kazemaru was odd to Naruto. He expected the dragons to be somewhat serious, but Kazemaru took him by surprise. Kazemaru was energetic, boastful and very passionate in whatever he was doing. His motto was to every moment you breath, have fun. Naruto really admired Kazemaru, seeing him as a friend that he can trust. I summoned you for your help, can you help me in taijutsu? I want to improve it. Kazemaru nodded as he decided to rest his wings and lay down on the grassy fields. Alright Naruto-chan, show me. Naruto nodded as he got into his stance. The soaring dragon's attack pattern was random at best. It involved moving like the elements. He had to have balance in every form, physical, mental, and emotional. Just like fire, he must be ready to turn an opponent's attack against them. Just like water, he had to give hard strikes and be unmovable unless by his own will, like earth. He must be able to stay on his feet, always be in movement, be random. Just like the wind, Naruto molded the style after the dragon rulers like Kazemaru. Naruto took a deep breath and exhaled it, clearing his mind of any uncertainty. He put his left foot ahead of him, clocking it to the right, bending his knees to gain some leverage. His hands are 2 feet away from each other, the left one on top and the right one on the bottom. With a spin on Naruto's already tilted foot, preformed a spin kick. Not stopping his spin, he did a motion that indelicate to sweep somebody's feet. Naruto went through the katas with ease as he made sure to make no mistakes. His movements were controlled but random. It was like he was luring his prey in before he went in for the kill. His movements were calm and balanced. All of a sudden Naruto put more of an effort as his strikes became more direct as he attacked with strong punches and kicks. Kazemaru watched with a critical eye, looking at the faults and strengths in the style Naruto created. To be honest, all the dragons held Naruto in great respect. The fact that he gathers knowledge before striking was a big plus to the elders. The dragons has been looking after Naruto ever since he was born. The elders were in good terms with Naruto's ancestors. They were the partners as they were nomads. When the ninja age started, they intend to be partners forever, but with the risk of other people coming after the dragons and selling them. If there were one thing a dragon isn't, then a coward was on the top of the list. Dragons were stubborn by nature and would not sit on the sidelines as their friends were being destroyed. So with the will of the elders they made a summon contract for the Namikaze ready to be used. In time came dark ages, as many of people of the clan died from the war. They were told that they sent their last child by the name of Minato Namikaze to Konoha. They weren't fast enough to get to the elder blonde as he already made a contract with the toads. When they heard about Naruto, they decided to give him his birthright as he truly needed it. Kazemaru was happy at their decision. Okay Naru-chan, let's start with the fixing your stance, I see a few holes in it. Kazemaru said. He tapped a few spots of Naruto's leg with his tail. For the next 2, Naruto is spending time correcting his style. Hey Kazemaru, can you tell me what jutsus would be good for me? If you could tell me my affinities, then I won't have to put up with those shop clerks. Naruto asked, using another trait of his, the sad puppy dog eyes. Kazemaru nodded as he gave a sigh. Kazemaru lowered his tail as he touched Naruto's forehead. A soft blue glow surrounded Naruto as a soft wind surrounded Naruto. His silver hair flew up gently as the wind settles. Kazemaru gave a monster of a laugh as he stared down at Naruto. What a surprise! Naru-chan, your affinity is my own, wind. Kazemaru said with his childlike voice. Naruto smiled as well, happy it was something as powerful as wind. If I was you Naruto, I would start learning some wind jutsu, but I would also learn how to make it. Kazemaru said, showing his serious side for once. Naruto looked at the dragon in confusion. What should I do then? I don't know how to make wind nature chakra. Naruto asked the dragon as he stood up on his hind legs. Futon jutsus are mainly used for cutting-based attacks. When I first started out a few hundred years ago, the first thing I tried to slice was something soft. Why don't you try that? Kazemaru said as he sent a gust of wind at a tree knocked down all the leaves. You could try to slice one of these leaves here. To do so you must split your chakra into two halves that grind against one another constantly until they become very thin and sharp before they are melded back together. I won't give you any more advice seeing that you're more of a trial and error type of person. You should be able to figure it out on your own. Once you are able to cut the leaf, try something harder like rocks. Now I must be on my way. So long Naru-chan, Kazemaru said as he smiled at the blonde before dispersing in a puff of smoke. Naruto nodded to himself as he walked slowly to the village. His plan so far is to get something to eat since it's about 10 AM right now. But for now he had to change. Being sweaty and eating ramen is not a good choice for other people. After a trip to Ichiraku Ramen Bar he decided to head to the library, his home away from home. Hello Naruto-kun, how are you today? Chika Haruno said to the silver-haired boy. She was always pleasant to Naruto, and for that Naruto respects her for it. Hello Chika-san, I am doing quite well. I have graduated from my class and will be a ninja. Naruto said giving the woman a nice kind smile. Congratulations Naruto-kun, my Sakura-chan has graduated too. I just wish she would let go of her crush with the Uchiha. Chika said as a sneer came onto her face. Chika was much like Sakura but she didn't have the whole crazy thing going for her. Chika had pink hair just like her daughter but her hair was tied into a ponytail in the back as the glasses hanged from her face. Me and you both Chika-san, Naruto said as he waved to her before going on his own. As much as he would have enjoyed talking with Chika he had other matters to attend to, like jutsus for example. I guess before I get started, I better create some clones to get started on what Kazemaru asked of me. Naruto told himself as he made 5 clones and sent them on their way. Truth be told not a lot of ninjutsu are in the library if there are there just the description. Thankfully since wind jutsus are so uncommon in Konoha they fully explained them. The only problem is that there are only 3 of them listed in the library. Oh well might as well start with the first one. Kei's no Yaiba. Wind release, wind cutter. Rank A. Description. After forming the needed hand seal, a cutting whirlwind will envelop his opponent and cut them to pieces. Unlike a real sword which can face resistance, the wind blade will be able to slice with little difficulty. Hand seals use R, bird and ram. When performing this jutsu be sure to have complete control over it or it could backlash and do some damage to you or other people. Naruto looked at the jutsu in shock. Maybe I better use clones to try it out. I don't want to hurt myself when I do the jutsu. Now for the next jutsu. Naruto thought as he went to the next scroll. Futon. Repusho, wind release, gale wind palm. Rank C. Description. An ninjutsu technique utilizing the wind element. After forming the needed hand seals, the user will send a strong gust of wind towards his target. When acting in conjunction with another thrown weapon, the wind can increase its power and deadliness. Hand seals used are tiger, bird, and dragon. Naruto read as he stood in shock at the nature of the jutsu. I like it. I will give you more of an advantage in battle with the weapon thing. Kyuubi said as he read the jutsu alongside Naruto. I know I have a few ideas on what I want the jutsu to do. With my shadow clones this jutsu should do me well. Naruto said to himself as he studied the jutsu. He picked up the next scroll and started to read. Futon. Daitopa. Wind release, great breakthrough. Rank C. Description. An ninjutsu technique which utilizes the wind element. After bringing their hand to their mouth, the user will blow a large blast of wind capable of leveling almost anything in its way. A variation of the technique involves a smaller blast of wind which gets ignited with flame. Hand seals. Bird, pig, snake, ram. This would be more useful if I knew a fire jutsu. Naruto thought as a frown came to his face. Don't be too quick to judge. You forget about your summons? Some of them are able to breathe fire and with this jutsu it would be more powerful in battle. The Kyuubi advised as Naruto nodded. There is only one jutsu left. Why don't you read it and then we can be on our way to train? Naruto gave a sigh of annoyance but nodded nonetheless. Futon. Rinkuden, wind release, drilling air projectile. Rank B. Description. An ninjutsu technique utilizing the wind element. The user inhales a large amount of air into his chest and then slams his fist into his chest to expel it. To strengthen the attack, the user will imbue chakra into the air. When expelled, it forms concussive spherical projectiles capable of inflicting large damage. Hand seals are bird, dragon, horse, snake. That would be a useful jutsu to use. It's something worth learning. Naruto, as he gathered his scrolls and left the building. It was to train. For that week, Naruto trained to the brink and even beyond that. He was only able to master 2 of the jutsus, Fuuten, Repusho, Wind Release, Gale Wind Palm, and Fuuten, Daitopa, Wind Release. Great breakthrough. Even with the help of his shadow clones and adapting ability, he still only knows how to do those 2. Yes, a little. I like some of the characters' personality but not a lot of them. So I'm going to criticize them to show my hate. So if you don't like bashing, then please go to another FIC, because I'm not changing a thing. Will Naruto ever forgive Hiruzen Sarutobi? Maybe, who knows what the story might roll to. Why haven't you gotten more reviews yet? I can't answer that, but I can say that I'm nothing like my friend Big Fox 12. But I will best him. He is my rival and I must win. Also, if anyone would like to adopt Time and Time Again, and a new light, please hurry, time's almost up. My next update will be on Watch Me Grow, since he left me the old chapters to work on instead of just making up new ones on the spot. God bless, Big Fox 12, so please look forward to it. Also, I'm looking for a beta, so if anyone wants to help, contact me. Summary. The beast that attacks in a flash of an eye. The beast that preys on the weak. The beast that has the howl that can put even the bravest of people on edge. Unleash the animal within. Demon, he shouldn't have graduated. What's the Hokage thinking? He should have been killed at birth. I wish the third would have just killed him. I took my daughter out of the academy so she wouldn't be on a team with him. Good call. Who knows what he might do when they go out on missions. Naruto walked through the whispers, quietly hearing everything they're saying. He didn't really care like he would if he was younger. Naruto has grown to just forget about being accepted by the people here. I would rather be accepted by rabbit wolves than be accepted by the people in this village, Naruto thought as he glared back at the people around them, making a few flinch back. What happened to their punching bag? He wasn't supposed to do that. He was supposed to take the abuse and keep himself distanced. The civilians kept quiet as they watched the boy walk to the academy. At the academy, Sasuke Uchiha was having a good day. He got some good training done, got his favorite food to eat, tomatoes, and he was finally going to become a ninja to gain power to avenge his family. Of course, he didn't show his pleasure on the outside. He had a reputation to keep up. Of course, that all went to hell when he saw Naruto enter the room. Somehow he knew he's going to have a headache before the end of the day, as Naruto sat down right next to him and laid his head down. It wasn't that he hated Naruto, he just didn't see him worth to be in his presence. He was the dope of the class, the boy that failed to do even a simple clone. Yay, not worth his time. Hey Naruto, what are you doing here? This is for the graduates. A random kid said as he smirked at Naruto. Sasuke remembered him. His whole goal in life is to make Naruto's life hell. That's another thing that Sasuke didn't like about Naruto. He was doormat. He let people walk all over him. Disgraceful. He watched as Naruto didn't do anything to give any identification. He heard him. The boy was getting mad as a vein came out of his head. Hey freak, I'm talking to you, the boy said as he was about to grab Naruto's shirt, but a massive killer intent washed over the class. Sasuke has only felt that killer intent once in his life, and that was from his brother. As if things couldn't get any worse for the boy, a deep growl came from the boy's throat. It sounded animalistic, like how a lion would growl to show authority to the others. In fact, it sounded exactly like a lion's growl. Naruto raised his head, and whatever he saw must have freaked the kid out as he flinched away from Naruto in fear. Go away, was all Naruto said before the boy jumped over some desks to get away from the boy. With the boy gone from Naruto's presence, the killer intent left the room as Naruto laid his head back down. Sasuke could only look at the boy as he raised his brow. No way this could be Naruto. I didn't think Naruto could produce killer intent. Doesn't matter. He's still a dope, Sasuke thought to himself as he looked out the window. The class was filled with silence for a while until a new topic was opening up. What the hell happened to Naruto? Hinata looked at her crush confused. Naruto-kun, what happened to you? Why are you so cold to people? I wish you wouldn't shun other people. Hinata thought as she saw him laid his head down, not caring if anyone was talking about him. Ever since she first met Naruto, she has always been attracted to Naruto. Always watching him from afar. She just doesn't understand him. At first when he entered the academy he was serious, but after a while it was like he just gave up. She knew it wasn't true because she watched him train. Watched him go through training that even her father wouldn't recommend. She always knew there was something deeper under the surface. What? She didn't know, but she wanted to find out. Naruto-kun, is this really you? I'm first. Ino and Sakura said, rolling in the classroom. They glared at each other with hate and got into an argument. Naruto watched the two girls in disdain. I wish that Sakura was more like Chika-san. She's hard to deal with her fangirl tendency. The Kyuubi could only snort as he looked at the girl arguing back and forth. She's too loud. Kid, unless she changes, don't you ever pick her as a mate. If you do, I'll never speak to you again. Naruto sighed as he laid his head back down, not caring. Hey Naruto, what do you think you're doing? Sakura said, stomping over to Naruto with anger written on her face. Naruto didn't answer, finding no reason to answer the child. Hey, I'm talking to you, Baka. You'll answer when I'm talking to you. Sakura said as she raised a fist ready to bash in his head like she always did. It always made her feel better about herself. Oh man, did she get a surprise. Naruto shot of his seat, grabbing her fist and holding a finger at her neck. Sakura, no, the whole class was in shock at what Naruto was doing. Sakura, that was really impolite. I would have thought Chika-san would have taught you better. Naruto said, making Sakura's eyes widened. How does he know my mom? Naruto released her but still kept his glare on the girl. What do you want, Sakura? Naruto said as he watched the girl hold her fist in slight pain. Maybe that was a little too hard. Nah, she'll get worse later on when she becomes a ninja. Naruto thought as he took a sigh from all the attention he was getting. I wanted to sit next to Sasuke-kun. You in my seat, Sakura said as she looked at her feet. Naruto frowned at the girl. Sakura, next time, you should ask a little nicer. That would avoid conflict, Naruto said as he got out of the way of Sakura and headed up the stairs. You need to learn common courtesy, Naruto said, missing the look on Sakura's face. Sakura was turning red with embarrassment as she watched Naruto head up the stairs. Who does that Baka think he is? Inner Sakura glaring at the blonde. I'll show that Baka someday. Sakura thought with a vein on her head. Shut up, you're dead last. You can't talk to me like that, Sakura said with a bratty tone. Naruto, losing his patience with her, glared at her, making her shut up. Shut up, Sakura. You got your seat, so just sit down and shut up, Naruto said, walking away from the girl. Naruto, get back here and apologizes. Naruto never looked at her as he walked to an empty chair next to Hinata. Hinata looked at Naruto as he came her way in horror. Oh no, oh no, oh no, Naruto-kun is coming that way. I have to stay calm. Don't faint, Hinata, don't faint, Hinata said as she tried to calm herself down. She was nearly having a panic attack. Hinata-san, are you okay? You a little flushed, Naruto said, smelling her hormones. This girl. I swear if she wasn't so shy, she would jump me in a second and take me right here. And you wouldn't like that? Kyuubi said with a perverted smile. He was happy one of these people were able to appreciate the kid. Then again, he would be happy if Naruto would just leave this damn village, but the brat's a stubborn one. Naruto flushed briefly but shook it off quick. You know she has to know a few things before she's ready, Naruto thought as he calmed his nerves. Hinata-san, do you mind if I take a seat here? There are no other seats available, so do you mind? Naruto said with a lady killer smile that Hinata shudder in his pleasure. Why yes Naruto-kun. You can sit here if you want to, Hinata said, ducking in her coat. Naruto's smile seemed to just make her even more nervous but also a little excited. Thank you, Hinata-san, Naruto said, taking a seat. I wish you wouldn't call me Hinata-san, Naruto-kun, she said as softly to the point where no one could hear her. Unfortunately or fortunately, with Naruto's animal hearing, he was able to hear what Hinata said and smiled. Oh, well then what would you like me to call you then? How about Hinata-chan? Naruto said, surprising Hinata. She didn't know he could hear her. She turned scarlet as she heard the name. No, Hinata-chan won't do, Naruto said, making Hinata sigh sadly. I know. How about Hinata-hime? Naruto said, making Hinata jump in surprise. Of all the names he could give her, he gave her the one that she wasn't expecting. Well, Hinata, what do you think? Making the girl hit a shade that's never been seen before. Oh well, I'll figure it out sooner or later. Naruto said, watching Iruka as he walked into the classroom. Flashback. Why? Why do you care so much? Why did you take the blow for me? Naruto had to know. His whole being depend on it. Iruka gave a pained smile. Because I consider you someone precious to me. Someone to cherish. End flashback. Precious, huh? I still don't understand, but I hope one day I will. Naruto thought as he half listened to Iruka's speech. Flashback. It was the last day of his training and today he took it easy. Him and Iruka sat down for the first time and had ramen together. For the first time. Hey Naruto. Iruka said, watching the blonde tear at his ramen. What do you plan for the future? What's your dream after you graduate? Naruto looked up from his ramen as he set the bowl aside. I don't know. I just want to get stronger. Reach a level that has never been reached. I don't think I really have a dream. I never really wanted anything. Naruto said as he looked at Iruka. Gauging his reaction, he seemed sad. What do you mean? You never had one thing you ever wanted to do? Ever wanted to know? Naruto just shook his head and went back to the ramen. Well, you're still young, Naruto. You'll find out what you want later on in life. All of us do. Naruto nodded as he raised his hand to the old man behind the counter. Oi, Tuchi-san, another bowl. Tuchi nodded as he got back to work. Iruka looked at Naruto and the stack of bowls that he discarded. Oi, Naruto, how many bowls is that? Tuchi-san, another bowl. Oi, Naruto. That's enough bowls. Tuchi-san, another bowl. Naruto. Flashback ends. Naruto smiled at that memory. It was one of the few times where Naruto actually smiled and enjoyed others' company. A dream, huh? I'll find it. Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno. Taking a breath as Sakura seemed to scream something about true love conquer all or something like that. And Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto sighed, displeased at the current events, but kept to himself. I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. Hinata said, grabbing Naruto's attention. Naruto smiled, grabbing her hand, making her shiver. Thank you, Hinata-hime, that means a lot to me. Naruto said with a smile. Team 8 will be Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, and Shino Aburame. Team 9 is still in rotation. Team 10 is Ino Yamanaka, Shikamaru Nara, Shoji Akamichi. Sakura jumped out of her seat as she pointed at Naruto. Hey sensei, why does Naruto have to be on our team? I thought he failed the graduation test. Naruto, Hinata and Iruka glared at the bubblegum girl as she shrank down to her seat from all of the looks. Naruto's test was actually tampered with by a teacher that made him fail the written test. As for the jutsu, Naruto has too much chakra to make a bunshin no jutsu. The reason he passed is because he took a mock exam that went wrong. Naruto bravely combated the treat and saved Ami and the parcel as well. As to why he has to be on your team, Sasuke is the rookie of the year while Naruto has the lowest scores in the academy. You Sakura were just lucky you made it on his team. Now sit down, Iruka said, getting tired of the girl's arrogant tone and shocking the whole class. Just think, it's my last day to put up with her. Iruka said, sighing as Sakura sat down with tears in her eyes. Now that you know your teams, you all will have an hour for your lunch break. So my students, congratulations for passing. A huge wave of cheers came from the now graduated genin. With that said, Iruka left the group going to his lunch. Naruto looked at his two teammates and sighed seeing them walk out of the classroom. He turned to Hinata as she was just fidgeting, enjoying being next to Naruto. Seeing as how he didn't want to eat alone, hey, Hinata. Do you want to go eat with me? I would invite my teammates, but it seems they already left. Hinata blushed a glow but nodded her head nonetheless. Naruto held out his head waiting for her to grab it. Hinata was nearly on overload as she took his hand and went out the door. I'm holding Naruto-kun's hand. I can't believe it. It's so warm. Oh come on Hinata, don't faint, don't faint. Hinata said as she tried to calm herself. Having fun, Naruto? Kyuubi said with a huge smirk. Naruto blushed but caught to cover it up. Yes I am. It's going to be fun messing with her. Naruto said, smirking. I approve, Kit. You may take her as your mate. Kyuubi said, making Naruto almost trip over his own feet. I don't need your approval. Naruto yelled, hearing the howls of laughter coming from the beast. Naruto tried to start a conversation with Hinata, not liking the silence. Once or twice he made Hinata giggle over his antics. That made her much more conformable. Before they got outside the building, Naruto heard his two teammates talking outside and decided to hear what they were saying. Sasuke-kun, it's not fair that Naruto is on our team. He'll just get in the way. He probably passed because of the Hokage. Naruto was always Iruka's favorite, so he must have helped. It's not fair that a loser like him is on a team of elites. Sakura said with a stuck-up tone. Surprisingly, Sasuke nodded as he looked at the pink-haired girl. I don't care if he's on my team or not. He's most likely going to die on the first mission anyway, so it doesn't bother me. Sasuke said as he started to walk away. Sakura nodded her head at extreme speeds. Yay, then it'll just be you and me, Sasuke-kun. Who needs that weakling anyway? He couldn't even make a bunshin, how pathetic is that? Sakura said, laughing at her own joke. Naruto grabbed Hinata's hand and walked outside. Hinata was enraged at what those two said. How dare that hussy? I'll bitch slap her all the way back to where she came from. She then realized what she was saying in her mind and blushed in embarrassment. Naruto glared at the two of them coldly as he walked up to them. Kill them, Kit. Don't let them talk to you like that. Kyuubi said as he clawed at the cage. Naruto didn't say anything once they realized that he was here. Sasuke looked the same, just coldly glaring at him, while Sakura had a look of deep regret, but it was soon taken over by satisfaction when she looked at Sakura. Hinata gave Sakura a hard glare that would make any Hyuga proud. Sakura flinched back in slight fear, having nobody glared at her like that before. Sakura didn't know what this feeling in her chest was. She felt bad at what she said about Naruto and she didn't know why. Why should I feel bad? I didn't do anything wrong. Right? Sakura asked herself, wanting a response, but unforgeable, her inner self was in the same boat. She also felt something every time she looked at Hinata up so close to Naruto like that. Cha, get off my teammate, you bitch. Inner Sakura yelled as she hit a wall with her fists. Naruto didn't say a word as he walked past them, without so much of a word. After they left the academy, Naruto and Hinata walked in silence. It was when they got to Ichiraku Ramen did Naruto smile at her, giving her a bit of self-confidence again. Well, we're here. You ready for lunch, Hinata-hime? Naruto said as Hinata gave a soft smile. Hinata nodded as they walked in the stand. For about 30 minutes Naruto and Hinata ate their ramen in peace as they talked about themselves getting to know each other. Naruto, is your animal like a appearance of bloodline or something? Are you an Inuzuka? Hinata said, looking at him in a cute way. No, I'm not an Inuzuka, Hinata. I'm an experiment, Naruto said, eating his ramen. Hinata dropped her chopped sticks. An EE experiment? Hinata said softly. Naruto nodded his head as he stared in her eyes. Yes, Hinata, I'm an experiment. You see, I'm not really all human. I'm just part, Naruto said, making Teuchi and Ayame freeze. He's not all human? Teuchi and Ayame thought together. What do you mean, Naruto-kun? Hinata said, getting interested. Hinata, I'm part human and part animal. Before you ask, I have every known animal's DNA inside of me. Naruto said, seeing Hinata's confusion. But who would do this to you, Naruto-kun? Hinata said, holding Naruto's hand for support. The Sannin Orochimaru did this to me 6 years ago. I really owe him a thank you, really. Naruto said, putting his bowl away. Hinata sat there in shock, as well as Teuchi and Ayame. They sat there in wonder on how this all happened. Hey Naruto-kun, how come you never told me about it? Ayame said with a pout. Naruto rubbed the back of his head as he smiled sheepishly. Yada yada, sorry Ayame-ne-chan. We don't really have that much time to talk anymore, do we? I'll show up more often for us to talk, ne? Ayame nodded as she smiled at the blonde. Naruto stood there holding out his hand, waiting for her to grab his hand. Come Hinata-hime, we could be late for when the Jonin come. Hinata nodded and blushed while grabbing her hand. On the way back, Hinata looked around, seeing how everybody was glaring at Naruto. She couldn't understand it. Was because of his animal DNA? She just had to know. Naruto-kun, why do they glare at you? Is it because of your DNA? Why do you keep going as if it's okay? Hinata said with sadness glazed her eyes. It's okay, Hinata-hime. I've grown accustomed to it. Hinata flinched back in shock. He's grown accustomed to it? Why should he? Naruto-kun, you shouldn't have had to grow accustomed to that. It's not right. Naruto looked at her as she looked at him with tears in her eyes. Naruto sighed, seeing that she was about to cry for him. She would make a good mate for me. I'll hold her close to make sure if she's worthy enough to be my mate. It's been said that many animals have to fight to show they're the strongest in the pack. That's what Naruto wants. Hinata, I put up with a lot in my past. I dealt with these people all my life. They're not going to change unless I make them change. But humans, they fear things they don't understand. To be honest, you and a few selected people only know about my DNA. These people don't know about that, so they hate me for another reason. Naruto said as he led her to the academy. Hinata looked confused as she listed the possibility in her mind. Naruto-kun. If it's not the DNA, then what? Naruto just chuckled as he smiled at her. A soft smile that made her heart melt. Hinata, I know all about how you like me. Hinata's eyes nearly popped out of her head. But before I make a commitment to be with you, you have to do something? Naruto said as Hinata forced herself to keep walking. You have to be strong. Strong enough for when there is a time I break down, I can have a shoulder to lean on. Naruto said as Hinata paid attention, wanting to know all she could. I need you to be able to protect yourself when the time comes. And most importantly, Naruto said as he reached the academy. You have to be able to be ready, for when you find out my secret. You have to find out for yourself. If you still feel the same, that and only that is when I'll make you my mate. Naruto said as he gauging Hinata's reaction. Become Naruto-kun, mate. Hinata thought as a lot of suggestive images came to Hinata's mind. Naruto-kun's mate, that was the last thing that went through Hinata's head as she passed out in ready arms, already knowing this would happen. You also need to fix this fainting thing of yours. Naruto said, picking her up bridal style. He sighed as he went inside the academy building with Hinata in his arms. Ah, if that no good sensei of ours doesn't walk through that door in the next 5 minutes. Sakura said, leaving the empty threat in the air. Naruto sighed as he got another tissue to rub the blood out of his ears. It's only been 3 hours and he didn't know if he could take the abuse anymore. He was ready to claw his ears off if she screamed one more time. All of the other teams have already left, leaving Naruto to suffer. Why must I suffer? What have I done? Was it the time when I painted the entire Hyuga mansion bright pink? Or was it when I replaced Hyuga Hiyoshi's underwear with Yuhi Kurenai's thongs? Naruto thought as he blushed at the memory. Kyuubi chuckled in his mind as he remembered the prank too. Surprisingly enough, Naruto did not get caught. It was a miracle in on itself. Naruto promised on all that is holy that he would never tell a soul for what he did. Kurenai made it her life promise to maim, and if she finds out that a guy did it, Naruto had to release a violent shudder at that thought. Thankfully Naruto was cut off from his thoughts as he heard a door opening. A man with gray hair that seems that stand up on its own. He wore the standard Jonin uniform. Okay. My first impression of you, you're all boring. The man said with a creepy eye smile. Naruto raised his eyebrow at the man. Is he for real? Naruto thought as he stared at the man. Well now, all of you meet me on the roof. And with that said he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto didn't waste any time and started to head over to the door. Before he could get out of the door, he was pushed out of the way by Sakura as she started to lead Sasuke out of the door. Naruto glared at them as he walked to the door. This is supposed to be a team. Bullshit. Naruto thought bitterly as he walked to the roof of the academy in a bad mood. Naruto Baka, what took you? Sakura said, gaining a growl from the blonde, making the pink-haired girl to flinch back in fear. Kakashi frowned behind his mask but could understand the blonde's discomfort. He saw the way the two treats him. If it was him. Anyway, we're getting off subject here. All right, let's start with introducing ourselves. The man said as he looked at his charges. Naruto wasn't a fool. He could tell this man was stronger than him. He could practically smell it. He eyed the man warily, nodding to his request. Sensei, wouldn't it be best if you did it first? I mean, we don't even know who you are. Sakura said as Kakashi sighed. Very well, I'm Kakashi Hitaki. The things I like? The things I hate? I don't feel like telling you that right now. As for my hobbies, wouldn't you like to know? My dreams for the future? Well, why don't you go next, Pinky? Sakura only glared at the man at the crack. Don't call me Pinky. Anyway, what kind of introduction was that? All you told us was your name. Sakura said, glaring at the man. Kakashi just waved off her and told her to proceed. Sakura mumbled some words as she took a deep breath to calm herself. My name is Sakura Haruno. Things I like. Looks to Sasuke. My hobbies are. Bats her eyes at Sasuke. My dreams for the future. Squeals while having a nosebleed. If you were to look a little at Sasuke, you would have seen him curling himself in a little ball. Kakashi looked at the boy in pity. What about the things you hate? Sakura broke out of her daydream and sent a hateful look at Naruto, waving her fist. Naruto baka. Naruto looked at her but yawned and went back at staring at the clouds. Kakashi only sighed as he already figured out how this team will do. I don't have a very good feeling on how this team. If I do pass this team, her fangirl personality is going to have to go. Also, her hatred over her teammate will have to go too. Well then, now let's have Mr. Sunshine say a few words. Kakashi said, pointing at Sasuke. Sasuke clutched his hand together, trying to look badass. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I don't have many likes, but I have many dislikes. What I have is not a goal but an ambition. I will recreate my clan, and I will kill a certain man. Sasuke said, hiding his smirk as Sakura had hearts in her eyes. Yay, I am badass. So he's still on that. Revenge will just make him weaker in the long run. Kakashi thought as he turned his attention to the blonde. Naruto was still looking at the clouds, but Kakashi could tell that he was listening to the things around him. Let's see what Naruto has to say. Okay, Blondie, why don't you go next? Kakashi said, giving the boy a lazy smile. Naruto looked at the man and gave a small smile himself. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I like ramen, reading and dragons. I hate when people look down on others because of who they are or something that's not their fault. My hobbies include reading and gardening. My dreams for the future is to find someone precious to me, and to understand what that means. Naruto said, looking down at the floor at the last part. Kakashi smiled at the blonde. Now that's somebody who he can work with. Naruto Uzumaki, you grew up in a very interesting way. I'll talk to him about his dream after the meeting. Kakashi said, watching as his other students sneered at the blonde, while Sakura did. Sasuke just ignored him. Well, now that we know each other better, let me tell you what your test is and I can be on my way. Kakashi said, smiling the whole time. Wait, what do you mean test? Kakashi only gave an evil chuckle as he glared at his charges. You didn't really think you are a genin, right? That test was merely to weed out the weaklings. Now the real test begins tomorrow. Meet me at training ground 7 at 5 in the morning. Ya nay, Kakashi said, disappearing in a puff of smoke. You know, kid, it wouldn't hurt to try and be on good terms with your teammates. I know you don't like them, but you'll be spending a lot of time together. Kyuubi said, dipping into his infinite wisdom. Naruto sighed, agreeing with the fox. It couldn't hurt. Besides, I don't know them that well, so I can't judge. Even if they do act like jerks. Naruto said, standing up and breaking the two of them out of thought. Hey Sakura, Sasuke. I don't want any problems since we are now a team. So how about we get something to eat so we can get to know each other? Naruto said, giving a small smile. That's right, kid. Let's not judge until we know them. I bet deep down inside there. Kyuubi was about to finish his sentence as Sasuke started to laugh. Please dope, like I would really care about you. Sasuke said while Sakura joined in because Sasuke was laughing. No good, rotten, SPIOLD, waste of space, little dipshits. Let me out, kid, let me out, Kyuubi said, attacking the gate. Naruto bit back a growl that came in his thought. How dare they? It was an act of good faith and they spit on it as if it was dirt. The bastards. Besides, who would want to hang out with you? We don't even need you. You're just a waste of space. Me and Sasuke-kun only need each other. Sakura said, following Sasuke out the door. Naruto took a deep breath as he tried to control his emotions. Kami, dealing with these people will drive him insane. What about you, Kakashi? Are you going to decline my request also? Naruto said as Kakashi popped up out of nowhere. Sure, I'll go, but how did you know I was still here? Kakashi said, smiling at the blonde. Naruto tapped his nose as he looked at the man. I could smell you. You smell like grass and somewhat of dog. Kakashi nodded as they walked to the ramen bar. At Ichiraku Ramen Bar. So, what did you want to talk about, Naruto? Kakashi said as he stared at the blonde. They'd been at the ramen bar for about 6 minutes and Naruto already finished his 9th bowl. I know one thing, I'm not paying for him. Kakashi thought as the blonde covered up a belch. I thought since we might be working together in the future, we should get to know each other first. When I asked, well, I think you saw what happened. Naruto said, making Kakashi narrowed his eyes. I understand, Naruto. To be honest, I'm only on this team to teach Sasuke about his Sharingan if he ever unlocks it. Kakashi said, watching Naruto take a calming breath. Naruto was so angry at that. It was like Sakura and him didn't even matter. Then what's the point of being on a team? If you're just going to train Sasuke, then what about me and Sakura? Naruto said, glaring at Kakashi coldly. Kakashi had to force down a small shiver at the look. Naruto, I've been ordered by the council with the Hokage's approval, to give Sasuke more attention. I'm sorry, but that's what was ordered. I was told to give you little time as possible. The truth of the matter, Naruto, as long as the council has a strong hold of the village, then there is nothing I can do. Kakashi said, looking at his glass of water. Naruto crushed his chopsticks in his hand as a vein came to his forehead. Ayame and Teuchi looked at Naruto in pity. Naruto looked at Kakashi with a neutral expression. I should have known. I always wonder why I even stay and put up with shit like this. Naruto said, getting up and leaving the money on the table. He was nearly out until Kakashi stopped him by grabbing his shoulder. Naruto looked at the man with an unreadable expression. I know that you're angry, Naruto, but there's nothing the Hokage can do. I know it hard, but I'll try and spend some time with both of you and Sakura. Naruto looked at the man and raised a brow. That's where you're wrong, Kakashi. In life we all have a choice. I chose to stay and put up with this village's ignorance, and to me, it's not fair. I will not be anyone's scapegoat just because of what's sealed inside of me. I'm going to speak with the Hokage about this. You can come if you like. I don't really care, Naruto said, brushing the man off of his shoulder. Kakashi sighed before he left with Kakashi. I knew this was going to be troublesome, but I don't regret telling him. He needed to know what's going on. Kakashi said as he took out his book. In Hokage Tower. Hiruzen only sighed as he finished the last of his paperwork. He sighed as pulled out a little orange book. He could only sigh as peace opened around him. Wait, you just can't go bardging into the Hokage's office like that. Anbu, please hurry, a voice said outside said. Hiruzen only sighed, seeing that his piece is about to end. He put away his book just as the door busted open, showing Naruto dragging two Anbu with him. Kakashi came in looking sheepish. Sorry for the intrusion, Hokage-sama. Naruto wants to talk to you, Kakashi said, pointing at Naruto. Hiruzen could only flinch back at the look Naruto sent him. It was dead but also had a predator look to it. Sarutobi, we need to talk. Hiruzen called off his Anbu. Naruto walked in, never taking his eyes off of the old man. Would you like to take a seat, Naruto? The man said kindly, only to get a, no thanks, I think I'll stand. Hiruzen just sighed as he lit his pipe, seeing that this is going to be a long conversation. What do you want to talk about, Naruto? It seems that Naruto's glare seemed to intense by 100 times. I would like to know why you allow the council run all over you? Kakashi told me about how you allowed the council to hinder my training. I would like to know why, Naruto said, unnerving the old man with the dead look in Naruto's eyes. Naruto, I didn't let them do anything. There was nothing I can do. Naruto's glare only increased by 1,000-fold. Bullshit. That's utter bullshit. You mean to tell me that you, the Hokage, can't do anything? Naruto said calmly. Naruto, I'm telling you, there was nothing I can do. As Hokage can only do so much. Hiruzen said as he looked at the blonde Sai. Naruto glared at the ground as he spoke softly. There was a time during my life where I looked to you for wisdom and help. I always wondered why I was being punished for something I never did. You never once told me. You always lied to me, claiming that it was for the best. Hiding my heritage, hiding the Kyuubi, you hide everything from me. Naruto said, raising his head to the old man. He could see pain in the old man's eyes. I can now see you're just full of shit. Hiruzen flinched back at the rage in the voice. It was like awaking a sleeping dragon. If there is one thing you never do is to wake up a sleeping dragon. You are the Hokage. When you put that hat on, you assume the role of a leader. This is your village, not the council's. I never understood why you put up with this. When did a ninja village become a democracy? If you can't be a Hokage, then find someone who can. Naruto said, shocking everyone in the room. Kakashi looked shocked at the way Naruto said his speech. He was so passionate in it. It was like he was looking at the fourth go out to battle, but it was much more fierce. Hiruzen looked at the blonde in shame. He had a point, this was his village. When he took the hat, he made a pledge to do what was best for Konoha. He took this job to help Naruto and the people in this village, not their laughing boy. It was time for a change. You're right, Naruto. I haven't been doing my job like I should. Thank you for reminding me of my job. It seems I lost that fire. Hiruzen said with a fire burning in his eyes. Naruto held back his smile as he lost some his glare. What are you going to do? Are you just going to barge in there and turn as you feel? Humans fear change. What will you do if you make enemies? Naruto said, gaining a confused look from everybody in the room. What do you think I do when I skip the academy and head to the library? Look up cookbooks? Naruto said, getting annoyed. You did look up cookbooks. Shut up, Kyuubi. Naruto coughed to cover his blush as Hiruzen looked at Kakashi but shrugs. What would you do if you were me, Naruto? Naruto didn't waste a second. Dismiss the council from all affairs. This shocked the group. Naruto, that would be ludicrous. You just said that humans fear change. This would be a big change if there was one. What would happen if the Hokage died? Kakashi said, looking at the blonde. My advisors would choose. Since the ninjas in the village has to approve of the Hokage, I don't see a problem. Not only that, but it has to go to the daimyo and he has to approve of it. If my advisors couldn't decide, then we would go to a hand-picked shinobi that show wisdom and can look beyond what is expected. Naruto said, ending his idea. Hiruzen and Kakashi jaw were almost to the floor. Not once had anyone thought of that. Now some genin came in and said it as plain as day. Good plan, Naruto. We never would have thought of that. Naruto just fell over anime style. And he's called the god of ninjas. Hiruzen smiled at Naruto as he nodded at the blonde. Thank you, Naruto. I really appreciate it. It's going to take a while for the council to get the idea. I'll bring this up in the next meeting. Kakashi, I want you to train your team like you're supposed to. Do not give anyone special training unless they ask and you have time. Kakashi nodded, smiling at the fact he gets to be a real sensei. Naruto nodded to him and made his way to the door. Naruto. Hiruzen said as Naruto stopped looking at the old man out of the corner of his eye. Do you still hate me for keeping the Kyuubi a secret for so long? Naruto didn't say anything, contemplating his next move. No. I'm no longer mad at you, but that doesn't mean I am pleased at you as well. To be honest, I've known about the Kyuubi ever since the experiment. Naruto said, shocking both people in the room. I only lied to gain more information from both of you during the years. I wanted to see how long you were going to keep me in the dark about this. The fact that I had to learn from a traitor was truly something I didn't expect. Naruto said, making Hiruzen sweat. I see. How did you come to find out? Hiruzen said, looking at the boy evenly. Like I said, I found out sometime after the experiment. When I woke up in the hospital is when I found out you and Kakashi really started telling me lies. Kakashi stared at the blonde in confusion. Naruto, what are you talking about? I don't think we have ever met before today. Naruto looked at the man annoyingly. Is that so, Inu-san? Kakashi's eyes widened as he remembered his Anbu days. He was so sure to stay out of sight. How did he know? Ever since the experiment, I've been learning everything that has anything remotely about animals. I learned no things that make even the most respected animal lovers bow their head in shame at the lack of knowledge. I've learned that I can be the best tracker, seeing how everything about me is hidden, namely smell, taste, hearing, and the other senses. My memory is enhanced because of the elephant DNA inside of me. Because of that I can never forget. That's how I know that you and the old man were outside of my room that day. Naruto said, making Kakashi and Sarutobi look at him slack jaw. His animal DNA is amazing. I didn't know it could be this powerful. Orochimaru, my young foolish student, you truly made something special. Hiruzen thought as he looked at the boy. Kakashi looked at the boy in pain, seeing as he could never forget the pain this village has put him through over the years. This must be the reason why he's cold to everyone. He can only see the hatred that lies in everyone's eyes. To hear all the hurtful things people say about him. I'm sorry, sensei, I couldn't do a better job with your son. Naruto looked at the two and sighed, snapping them out of their thoughts. I see. That was why you blew up on me when you asked me about your parents. Naruto, let's make a deal. Hiruzen said, making Kakashi and Naruto raise a brow in confusion. I will tell you about your family, but only if you reach some requirements. You must be strong enough to fight Kakashi along with 3 others of his choice in an all-out fight. You must be a chunin or anything above that. You have to be considered one of the strongest in the village. and finally be acknowledged by half of the ninjas for being a great ninja. Do you accept these requirements? I'll even write them down and will be signed by me. Hiruzen said, giving the blonde much to think about it. There was a tense silence in the room as Naruto thought about what he would like to do. After a few moments Naruto nodded and looked at the old man. Fine, I'll do it. That doesn't mean I have to like it. I will warn you that in my spare time that I will be doing some independent researching about them. Hiruzen nodded, confident that he won't find out anything. Kakashi smiled and said, well, now that this is solved, Naruto, thank you for dinner, but as you can see it's time that we should all be going. Kakashi said, shocking Naruto as he lost track of time. He looked out the window and saw it indeed is around sunset. Naruto nodded and walked towards the door. You're right, I think I'll go now. Make sure you get that deal written up, old man. Before he could get 1 foot out of the door, Kakashi said he'll walk him halfway, seeing as he's going that way too. Naruto nodded and started out of the tower. Hiruzen looked at the two and gave a pained smile. I'm sorry, Naruto. I truly am. If any one of us is deserving of an happy ending, it should be you. You put up with something every day knowing deep down that you don't have to. I truly wonder why you stay. What's keeping you here in Konoha? You say that you think more like an animal now, but any other animal would have left from the abuse you take? Why do you stay, Naruto? Unfortunately, Hiruzen's question will not be answered right now, seeing that Kakashi and Naruto are now at the spot where they split up. Well, Naruto, this is where we part. Are you fine walking on your own? Kakashi asked, not taking his eyes out of a book. Naruto nodded as he looked at the book questionably. Hey Kakashi-sensei, what's in that book that has you so absorbed? Naruto asking, making Kakashi eyes water. Just think, one of his students, wants to know what he reads. Hey, if Guy could make a mini-him, why can't I write? I guess you could say this is where Naruto lost his innocence to the power of Icha paradise. Next day. It was a peaceful day in Konoha. The birds were singing, children were laughing, everything was so peaceful. Where the fuck are they? Scratch that, it was peaceful. At Training Ground 7 was 2 students of Kakashi Hatake, Sakura Haruno and Sasuke Uchiha. They were waiting on their ridiculously tardy sensei and their teammate. Not like they cared if their teammate was there or not, they just needed their sensei to start the test. Where could they be, Sasuke-kun? It's been over 3 hours and sensei isn't here yet. I expected this from Naruto Baka but not from a Jonin. Sakura asked her crush. She was grateful over the time she spent with her crush, but 3 hours of silence from the Raven is enough. He should know it's rude to keep a lady waiting. Sakura said, glaring at the sky. Well, if you find a lady, tell her sorry for the wait, we got lost on the road of life. A voice that is easily known as Naruto's. Sakura turned around to yell at him only for her voice to get caught in her thought. Naruto now wore a tight black shirt that seemed to hug his frame. He wore baggy black pants that had multiple pockets. He wore a white coat with orange spirals that seemed to dance. The coat seemed to be torn at the ends. He had an orange somewhat slash that looked worn and old. It was tied at around his waist as his headband was tied to his head. His hair seemed to be cut to come at his neck, giving him a slightly older look. Pick on profile. Naruto, what happened to you? You look different, Sakura said as a bit of drool came down her lip. Naruto narrowed his eyes to her. So I changed my clothes and she notices, she is so shallow. Naruto could practically smell her attraction. It made him sick. Eyes front Haruno. We have a test to complete. Naruto snarling at her. He never looked away from an orange book in his hand. She flinched back at his tone of voice but nevertheless looked at Kakashi. Now that we have everyone here, let's begin the test, shall we? Kakashi said as he lifted up 2 bells. Your goal for today is to get these bells from me. Kakashi said with his eye smile. Oh, how Kakashi loved the way his team was looking at him. So much confusion was on their face. It made him all giddy inside. Sensei, there are only 2 bells. So does that mean we won't all pass? Sakura asked, looking at her teacher. What are you playing at, Kakashi? Naruto thought as he heard Kakashi chuckle. Well, who knows? You forget I'm a Jonin and has been in battle before you 3 were born. Who's to say that you will get the bell before time's up? Kakashi said, forcing the team back in shock. Wait, you never said anything about a time limit. Naruto said, snarling at the Jonin. This just made Kakashi chuckle louder. Sorry, that must have slipped my mind. Sasuke glared at Kakashi, went into his pocket and pulled out an alarm clock. Now this is set for at noon. Let's see if you can pass my test. Remember, if you don't pass it, then you have to repeat the Ninja Academy. Don't worry so much, who knows, you could be the first team to ever pass my test. Kakashi said, making the team break out into a sweat. You can use any weapon you like and you have to come at me with an intent to kill or you will never get a bell. Kakashi said, watching the team's reactions. Sasuke glared hatefully at Kakashi. I have to get a bell. If I ever want to kill Itachi, I can't fail here. He then looked at his teammates. You two better stay out of my way. I swear I'll take you down if you do. Sakura looked frightened, but after seeing her love's face full of determination, she started to gain some confidence. Kakashi wouldn't really hurt me. I'm a girl. My mom said you should never hit girls and she's always right. I won't lose and that's final. Sorry Naruto, but I'm getting a bell. Me and Sasuke will not be separated. Sakura said, glaring at Naruto with hate. Naruto looked like he was deep in thought. This is strange. Why put us in a team if you're just going to separate us again? Think, kid. What's the point of a team? Kyuubi said, already catching on. That's easy teamwork, gah. I'm so stupid. Then the bells has to be a distraction from the true goal. Working together. You got a plan, Kit? Naruto just smirked in his mind. Yay, but if this is about teamwork, then they need to help me not do things on their own. Well, what are you going to do? The emo is to into himself to see the reality of the situation, and the pink slut will do anything the emo says. We can't win in this. How do we convince them to work with us? That was a question Naruto just couldn't answer. Even he doesn't know what it would take to make them listen. I'll think of something, but for now we should get ready. Naruto thought as he closed the link with the multi-tailed beast. Alright, the test begins, now. Naruto wasted no time as he grabbed his two teammates and fled into the forest. Kakashi smiled as he saw Naruto's plan. Good job, Naruto. Let's see if you can convince the two to work together. Kakashi said as he took out his book and started reading. In the forest. Damn it, dope. Put me down. Sasuke yelled as Sakura struggled to get off of Naruto's shoulder. Naruto growled at them as he threw them on their asses. What's the big idea, dope? Naruto said as Sakura glared at our blonde hero. Did you two even know what the true meaning of this test? Or were you just going to go out in a full-out assault? Naruto said, looking at them evenly. He needed them to help, and the best way is to gain their trust. What are you talking about, Baka? All we have to do is get the bells from Kakashi-sensei. How hard could that be? We have Sasuke Uchiha, and I'm way smarter than you, so I should be able to pass this test no problem. You on the other hand, don't have a chance. You are the dope of the class, what makes you think you have a chance? Sakura said in a snobby way. Kit, she's really starting to piss me off. Kyuubi said, growling at the pink-haired bitch. I know, Kyuubi. She's pissing me off too, but as it stands, this test is about teamwork, and we need them for it to work. Naruto yelled, becoming frustrated from all the talking. How can we work with them if they won't even admit to themselves that they don't have a fighting chance? Kyuubi said, unknowingly feeding Naruto's anger and frustrations. I know, but damn it, we have to try, and why haven't this bitch shut up yet? Naruto yelled as he accidentally leaked killing intent on the two. Enough. Naruto yelled, shutting Sakura up. Sakura looked on in fear as she finally noticed the key. It was like a hand was around her neck as she tried to breathe. Sasuke was no different as he gasped for air. You two listen, and you listen good. Naruto said, not letting up on the killing intent. I have put up with you two for quite some time now. I've put up with the insults, I have even let you attack me to some degree, but what I will not put up with is your thinking of superiority. Now get this, you two. Just because Sasuke is the Rookie of the Year and is a Uchiha doesn't mean he can take a full-fledged Jonin. A Jonin, I might add, that has a shitload of experience under his belt, not to mention numerous jutsu. Sasuke may be the Rookie of the Year, but that's all he is. A rookie? Naruto said, glaring down at the silent Uchiha. Sasuke's eyes flashed red for a second but didn't say anything. And you? Do you think this is a game? Being a ninja is not your little fairy tale. In the academy, all you were good for is to cheat off of. You think you're stronger than me, then you're a fool. Since I was barely in the academy, you don't know what I can do. Naruto said, panting at his rant. Oh god, that felt good. Naruto thought as he lessened his killing intent. He's been meaning to say this for a long time now. It felt so good to come right out and say it. Naruto took deep breaths as he tried to regain his composure. Listen, I'm sorry I blew up on you, but you have to understand from my point of view. The fact that I put up with both of you two's nonsense, and not to mention you won't even listen to reason, is very stressful. Please understand that you cannot pass this test without help. He's a jonin for a reason. Naruto pleaded as he looked into Sakura and Sasuke's eyes. Well, Sakura's seeing as shadows were covering Sasuke's eyes. Well, Sakura said as she tried to make up her mind. Unknowingly to all of them except Naruto, Kakashi was sitting in a tree waiting to hear their answer. You want an answer, huh? Fine. Sasuke said, glaring at Naruto. My answer is, fuck you, Naruto. You drag me away, call me weak, and even put me in the same category as her. I wouldn't care if you called her weak. I would even agree with you, but you also called me weak that I can't agree with. Sasuke said, grabbing the blonde's shirt. So my answer to you is to go fuck yourself. I don't need you to pass this test. I'm an Uchiha, an elite, an Omega, not a commoner like you and the Banshee. So get your facts right, dope. Sasuke said, pushing the blonde back. He turned his back on the two. He could see tears welling up in Sakura's eyes and for some reason felt bad but shook it off. She's weak. Why should I care if I hurt her feelings? Sasuke threw them one last dirty look and stomped away. He looked to Sakura as she wiped her tears away. No, this is your fault. If you would just say Sasuke's stronger instead of trying to act cool. With a huff she walks back into the forest. Naruto glared at the ground as he heard Kakashi touch the ground. Good try. You got the meaning of the test down, all you needed was help from them. Kakashi said softly, knowing that the blonde was like a bomb ready to blow. Naruto tilted his head back as he roared much like a lion would. Tisk, this is so stupid. Why should I? Naruto said to himself as his eyes never left the ground. Sensei, I'll meet you back at the post. With that, Naruto walked into the forest. Kakashi looked at him sadly as he saw a blank look on his face. Kakashi sighed as he looked at the sky. It looks like this team isn't going to pass. I'm sorry, Obito, Minato-sensei, it looks like I won't be able to train your family after all. With that final thought, he walked out into the clearing where Naruto was standing in plain sight. He could feel his other two students, Charka. Sasuke's in the tree of the northeast of me and Sakura in under a bush south of me. Good try, guys, but your arrogance will cost you your jobs. Sensei, I would like to say something. Naruto said as his face remained blank throughout the whole exchange. Kakashi nodded, not seeing the harm in it. Sasuke and Sakura looked at the blonde in confusion. What are you up to, dope, baka? I have been on this team for 2 days and I can clearly say this without hesitation. I hate my two teammates. They are the most spoiled and stupid people I have ever had to waste my time to know. I do not feel like this team, if you wish to call it that, has a chance of passing. Naruto said, glaring. Kakashi winced as he caught the way he said team. He said it with such hatred and made you wonder if it was even capable to say it that way. I realized that we can never be a team like you want us to be, Kakashi-sensei. I respect you, so I will say this now, then say it later. Naruto said, losing the glare in his purple eyes as he looked upon the Jonin. I quit. I give up. Those words rang in everybody's ears. This was not Kakashi was expecting. This isn't what anybody was expecting. Naruto Uzumaki gave up. Well, it was bound to happen sooner or later. Sasuke said, jumping out of a tree looking like he won the lottery. Sakura walked out looking confused but happy. I don't know why I'm sad that you gave up, seeing as you were going to fail anyway, but for what it's worth, sorry you had to miss your chance. Better luck next time, Sakura said as she grabbed Sasuke's arm. Sasuke made no attempt to move his arm as he was too absorbed in his victory. Alright, I'm one step to reaching my ambition. Itachi, your life will finally be mine. Sasuke thought as he smirked evilly. Naruto, before I make my decision with this team, I would like to know why you quit. Kakashi said quietly but still firm. Naruto nodded, seeing as he was the only person to show him a little reset. I quit because I cannot work with these people. They clearly can't get their heads out of their arrogant ass to see the true meaning of the test. Naruto said, shocking and pissing off the other two genins. What are you talking about? The test was to get the bells from Kakashi-sensei. Sakura said, letting go of Sasuke's arm. They just have had to pass. All they had to do was get the bell. You idiot, even if it was to get a bell, what makes you think you passed? As you can see, none of you have a bell. So in the long run you would have failed. Naruto said, shocking the two. He was right, none of them had a bell. Sasuke and Sakura turned to Kakashi about to attack, but before they could, he held out a hand telling them to stop. "Don't bother, I'm ending the test," Kakashi said with his clock in hand. "What? No, it isn't even noon yet. Why are you stopping the test?" Sasuke said, showing the most emotion on his face than he has in years. "It's because it would only be a waste of time. You still don't understand the meaning of the test. You both think this is about getting the bells." Kakashi could care very little about how powerful you think you were or what your rank was in the academy. He couldn't give a damn about your family. The only thing he cares about right now was teamwork. That was what this little test was about. Naruto said, mostly to Sasuke. He could see Sasuke shake with rage as he said his speech. "You're wrong. Kakashi-sensei even said our goal was to get the bells. Why would he lie to us?" Naruto could only rub his temples in agony. He was getting a headache from talking to this girl. God, how I would love to just slap the shit out of her right now. Naruto thought as he heard Kyuubi grunt. "I agree with you on that one, kid. She can really annoy someone. Why is someone that is said to be the smartest one in the class be so stupid? We are ninjas. We are being paid to lie. You idiots don't know the first thing it means to be a ninja. You think being a ninja is showing you're straight or using the best jutsu. You're fucking asking for a slow, painful death, and not just you but everyone around you," Naruto said, baring his fangs at them. Sasuke could only grind his teeth at Naruto. How dare this low-rank trash talk to an elite like he's a child? "Shut up. Don't you dare lecture Uchiha. We are elite, the best of the best," Sasuke said, throwing a very weak killing intent at Naruto. Naruto could only shake his head. "If they were the best, then let me ask you, why are they all dead?" Naruto said, making Sasuke flinch back. "Naruto, there's no need to go that far," Kakashi said, trying to save the situation. "No, he needs to hear this. They all do. They all don't know what being a ninja really means," Naruto said, turning his gaze to Sasuke. "You want revenge on what your brother, but yet you fail to see how powerful he really is. What made Itachi so good at his job is that he used the very small jutsu to get the job done. He didn't care for powerful jutsu. He only wanted to do things fast and simple. He understood that being a ninja is about gathering information on your opponent and finding the simplest ways to win. He didn't rush into things. He was careful and planned things out right," Naruto said, proving a point, even though it was pissing Sasuke off. "He's right, you too," Kakashi said, seeing their puzzled face. "Being a ninja is supposed to get the job done the fastest and easiest ways. When Naruto came to you two offering to help you both, threw his offer at his face. The fact is, I wanted you to all work together to get the bells. In a genin team there is always 3 genins and a jonin, never 2 genins and a jonin. We of the Leaf Village pride ourselves for our teamwork. We are the best at what we do. If we don't work together we would have never beaten our most powerful rivals," Kakashi said as Sasuke and Sakura bowed their heads. "I'm guessing that's why you gave up, right? You wanted them to understand?" Kakashi said, smiling at the blonde. Naruto didn't say anything. He only leaned his back against a stump. "Well, I'll be nice for once. I'm giving you one more chance to get the bells," Kakashi said, smiling. Sasuke smirked as he gave a small nod. Sakura was smiling softly as she looked at Sasuke. Naruto didn't say anything. He just turned his back on them. "No, I don't think I'll take that offer," Naruto said as he started to walk away. Everyone in the field snapped his head to the blonde. "What are you saying, Naruto? He's giving us a second chance to redeem ourselves and you're throwing it away," Sakura said as she watched the blonde walk away. Naruto stopped as he glared coldly at the girl. There was nothing in his eyes. Just the harshest of winter in his eyes. A purple tempest. "Redeem myself? What do I have to redeem? I asked from the start for all of you to fight by my side. It was my idea in the first place. I don't see what's the point now that you all know what to do. This is no longer a test. We know the answers. I don't care what happens now, all I know is that I won't fight by your side just like you wouldn't fight by mine," Naruto said, glaring at all of them, showing his cold side. Without a word he resumed his slow walk out of the training ground. Before he could completely leave he heard Kakashi call him out. "Naruto, would you really leave your teammates to go back to the academy? I thought you understood the test?" Kakashi said, looking sadly at the blonde. Naruto scoffed at Kakashi. "Please Kakashi, don't try and guilt me into it. The fact of the matter is that they wouldn't look out for me when it'd be time for a big mission. I will say that you will be there, but to be blunt, you can't look after all of us. I don't want you to go through that. Besides, Naruto said, smirking, it may do them both good to be sent back to the academy. It may give them some modesty. Naruto said, laughing. Naruto's laughing came to a complete halt as Sasuke grabbed his shirt. I will not be sent back to the academy because of your pride. Sasuke yelled as he shook Naruto's shirt. Naruto only smirked as he gazed up at the raven. My pride, huh? Funny as it was your pride that didn't allow us to pass the test in the first place. Naruto said, grabbing Sasuke's wrist tightly. Sasuke flinched as the sudden pain. Hey Naruto, stop hurting Sasuke-kun. Sakura said as she ran to attack the blonde. Naruto glared at Kakashi, telling him to stay back. Naruto took a step into Sakura's guard while still holding onto Sasuke, as he dodged the punch. He then kicked Sasuke in the shin, making him lose his balance. Not wasting a second, he backhanded Sasuke into a tree. He dodged a sloppy punch from Sakura as he spun on his heels around Sakura, now facing her back. He then sent 3 jabs into her spine, paralyzing her, then sent a roundhouse kick, sending her into a tree. You three really have much to learn. This is why we can't work together. This is why we cannot be a team. You two need to learn some humility before you can ever become a ninja. If I didn't quit, then I can already tell that this team most likely would have trust issue and that one of you would most likely die or worse. Naruto said in a dark turn, glaring at Sakura. You Sakura are the worst of the worst. I can tell right now what your role as a ninja would be. Naruto said as he sneered at the girl. Sakura looked up him in wonder. As if all her questions were about to be answered. A sacrifice, Naruto said with a hint of anger in his voice. Sakura looked down at the ground as tears ran down her face. Kakashi only watched as he looked at Naruto. He didn't stop Naruto, seeing that he was telling the truth. These kids got to learn someday that being a ninja is not a game. As much as I dislike how Naruto's telling her this, he does make a point. Kakashi thought as he watched the downplay. Sakura looked up at the blonde in anger as she wiped her tears away. Why would I be a sacrifice? I was one of the most popular girls in school. I was one of the prettiest, and most importantly, I wasn't a dead last like you. You, the dead last, should fear and respect me. Sakura said, getting back her confidence. In an act of good faith, he let her vent her word upon him. Naruto glared at her, adding a small bit of killing intent. Are you done? Naruto said as Sakura flinched. Naruto looked towards Kakashi and looked at him evenly. Do not interfere. Kakashi nodded but still asked, are you going to harm her? Naruto didn't respond for a second but then nodded his head and said, not too bad. Kakashi nodded once more, trusting Naruto, seeing as he holds no anger for the girl. Naruto closed his eyes and sighed. I should fear you, huh? No, I shouldn't fear you, Naruto said without a hint of emotion in his voice. Sakura and Sasuke were confused but kept their mouths shut. Instead, both of you, Naruto said, pausing, making everyone tense. Should fear me? Naruto said, blasting a shitload of killing intent at the group as he opened his eyes. Sakura and Sasuke gasped as the killing intent went through them. Sakura threw up on the ground as she shivered in fright. Sasuke just gasped as tried to regain his bearing. Kakashi took a step back, seeing as Naruto's killing intent had reminded him of the Kyuubi's killing intent. Sakura, I will give you one warning. Don't you ever talk to me like that again. That little speech you made was something I expected you to say, so I have a little speech to say myself. Naruto said, smiling evilly. Sakura shuddered in fear but didn't expect a fist in her gut, making her cough up blood. Naruto then grabbed her hair, making her look in his eyes. Sakura looked at Naruto with tears running down her eyes. She looked at Naruto, seeing his emotionless face. Not even a hint of pity as he looked down at her with his now cold and hazy purple eyes that seemed to bore into her, making her fear him just as more. You seem to think of yourself in a good light, huh? Better than me. I will tell you something, Sakura. You are weak. You don't stand a chance against me, Naruto said as he threw her into Sasuke. Sasuke looked at Naruto in bewilderment, seeing his treatment on the girl. It just didn't add up. Yay, Naruto changed but still to cause the girl so much pain? This wasn't Naruto, this was an animal. Foolish little ninja, you seem to think that just because you were the best on test that you're the best out on the field as well. You lack the drive to be the best. That goes to you too, Sasuke. If you want to be the best, then you need to pull your own weight when the times come. Until you learn that, however, I will know, nor will I ever lend my help to fools like you. Now Kakashi, I take my leave." And with that Naruto jumped away from the group, leaving them in silence. A sigh from Kakashi broke the silence. "To be honest, I don't know what else to say. I agree with what Naruto said but don't like how he did it. Sakura, just because you were great at test doesn't mean you are any good in the field. Seeing how you did today just proved to me you aren't very good on the field or any battle." Sakura looked down at the ground as tears flowed in his eyes. Sasuke was just silent as he listened to Kakashi. "Sasuke," Kakashi said as the raven looked up at the silver-haired man. "Naruto didn't quit just because Sakura. You're also to blame as well. Because of your arrogant nature and unwillingness to work together. Even Itachi learned how to work together when the time called for it." Sasuke growled at the name of his brother but said nothing. "As of now I'm not able to pass you, but the council will no doubt do everything in their power to make you a ninja." Sasuke smirked as he had a feeling this would happen. "As of now I'm putting this team on standby till further notice." With that said, Kakashi proofed away, leaving Sasuke and Sakura alone thinking about what just happened. In the Hokage Tower, Hiruzen sighed as he finished the last of his paperwork. He just got done with the new teams. It seemed the Asuma, now the leader of Team 10 that has Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akamichi. He was worried that his son may not have the drive to push the new Ino Shiksho. Next comes Team 8 with the Kurenai as their sensei. She's a rookie jonin but he had complete faith in her. Her students all come from clans that look very promising. Yes, Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka looked very promising. Now he was only waiting on Kakashi to show up. He couldn't wait to hear how Naruto's team passed. It's not like they can fail thanks to the council. They practically demanded that Kakashi pass the team. Hiruzen was broken out of his thoughts by a sound of a very familiar poof. Kakashi stood right before him with an unreadable exasperation. "Hokage-sama, I regret to inform you that Team 7 failed my test." Kakashi said, preparing for the worst. Thanked Kami he prepared. "Kakashi, what do you mean Team 7 failed? You were given an order to pass the team under any means necessary." Hiruzen yelled with his ki filling the entire room. Kakashi flinched at the ki and silently blamed Naruto for the old man's ire. "Hokage-sama, please calm down so I can explain to you what happened," Kakashi said, trying not to show his fear. Hiruzen sighed, trying to calm down as he glared at the Cyclops. "Fine, but you better hope you have a damn good explanations as to why you failed to follow and order from not just me but the council as well." Kakashi nodded, seeing as he can't get into any more trouble than he already is. "Hokage-sama, I didn't really fail them. Naruto simply gave up," Kakashi said, making Hiruzen raise a brow. "This is troublesome. The council wanted Team 7 to begin their duties of ninjas as soon as possible. Since Naruto gave up, they can't start their duties, and to make matters worse, we can't make Naruto do anything seeing as he's not technically a ninja." Hiruzen said, cursing Naruto for putting him in this kind of position. "Kakashi, I'm afraid me and you need to go to the council chambers and talk with them what's going on," Hiruzen said as he grabbed his hat. Kakashi nodded and walked out of the room. In council chambers. "Ah, Hokage-sama, we were about to call you, you as well, Kakashi," a civilian council member said as he smiled at the two, walked in and took a seat. "Kakashi-san, if you would be so kind to let us know how strong the Uchiha is, it would be much appreciated. Not only that but him as well." Kakashi sighed as he listened to the distaste in the mont's voice. "Team 7 has failed my expectation. They fail my test," Kakashi said as he set on the barrage of angry insults. He didn't have to wait long. "Kakashi, do you have any idea as to what you just did? What on earth could have made you fail the last Uchiha?" A civilian council member yelled at the nin. "It was the demon's fault, wasn't it? We should have killed it when we had the chance," another civilian said, causing the people on the civilian side to yell. "Silence!" Hiruzen yelled over the group of people. His glare made everyone flinch back in awe and fear. Never had they seen that look on his face in the past 12 years. They were looking at, not the Hokage, but Hiruzen Sarutobi, the god of Shonobi. At the face, people could only see one thing ahead in the future. Hiruzen was not playing around anymore. "Kakashi, please continue before you were so rudely interrupted," Hiruzen said, glaring at the council, shouting them up. Kakashi nodded, afraid of the Hokage. I started the test telling them the rules and it didn't take long for Naruto to figure out the point of the test. Kakashi said, causing people to gape. Koharu, an old patient woman who once was Hiruzen's teammate, decided to speak. Kakashi, our records show that the young Naruto has had one of the worst grades in the history of the academy. It even goes on to say that Naruto barely even showed up most days. Are you telling me that he hid his intellect? Koharu asked, gaining the looks of the every ninja of the shinobi said of the council. Shikaku raised his head and looked bored at the council. Is it so much of a shock? My son did the same thing. In fact, we Naras do it a lot. Naruto may not be a Nara, but from what my son says, he is somewhat as lazy as we are. With that said, Shikaku lowered his head as he went back to sleep, gaining smirks from the people around him. Kakashi cleared his throat, asking if he could continue. Hiruzen nodded and Kakashi went back to the story. Once I started the test, Naruto picked up Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno before they could get away and they fled in the forest. It was my guess that Naruto tried to convince them to join him in fighting. Once he learned that nobody would fight by his side, they forced his hand. Seeing no other choice, he called me out and asked to say something to his teammates. In his excited words, I have been on this team for 2 days and I can clearly say this without hesitation. I hate my 2 teammates. They are the most spoiled and stupid people I have ever had to waste my time to know. I do not feel like this team, if you wish to call it that, has a chance of passing. Once he said that, he told me that he gave up and walked off the field. Kakashi said, looking at the ninja side of the council. This is an outrage. How dare that demon try and hold back the last Uchiha? I say we kill the beast for this treason. A civilian woman said, gaining support over the civilian side quick. Hiruzen snapped his fingers as 2 ANBUs came for the shadows and stabbed the woman in the chest, shocking everyone in the room. Hiruzen glared at the woman as he watched the life fading from her eyes. You broke my law, and the sentence to that is death. With that said, the woman slumped on the blade, showing she was dead. The room was deathly quiet as they stared at the Hokage's glaring visage. I will not tolerate you civilians to try and have a place in shinobi matters. You matters are to take care of the economy and resources of our village. You do well to remember that. Hiruzen said, sending a bit of ki at the civilians, shutting them up as they finally understood the cage. Danzo was at a crossroad. He was sad and angry about the Hokage finally taking his job seriously. His plans could be ruined about this turnabout. He would have to play his cards a little bit closer if his dream is going to be realized. Homura, another teammate of Hiruzen, looked to the cage and said, Hiruzen, would it be possible to get Naruto-kun in here? Hiruzen looked at Kakashi and nodded. He will be back shortly. Hiruzen said as he hoped Kakashi could talk to Naruto so that he will be more respectful to the council. Single quote. With Naruto. Another bowl, Naruto? Ayame asked with a kind smile on her face as she looked at the white-haired youth. Naruto shook his head no, saying, no thank you Ayame-ne-san. I'm afraid that I have training to do. Ayame looked sad but nodded but looked confused as Naruto started sniffing in the air. Naruto turned his head only to see a poof of smoke come out of nowhere with Kakashi smiling at him. Yo, Naruto, the council wants to see you about today's exams. Naruto nodded, expecting this in a way. Naruto, before we go, I must tell you to behave in the chambers, seeing as the Hokage and the council members are the only thing keeping you alive. Naruto nodded and said nothing. With that said, Kakashi grabbed hold of Naruto's shoulder and poofed away from the stand, leaving behind an angry chef. Damn it, Naruto. You forgot to pay. Tucci could have swore that he heard Naruto chuckle in the wind. In the chambers. In a poof of smoke, Naruto and Kakashi appeared in a poof of smoke. Naruto looked at the group with a bored expression, clearly pissing off many people on the civilian side. You called? Naruto said, looking to the Hokage. Hi Uzumaki-san, we are most curious as to why you gave up in the genin exams. We would like to know what happened, you left taking your team away when Kakashi-san started the test. Homura said as he looked at the purple-eyed demon host. His view on the child was at best neutral. He didn't hate the child nor did he like him. Naruto nodded, taking a more now powerful stance as he looked down on the council. The council was shocked at the now glaring silver-haired boy. He took the stance of a person who demands respect. Hiyashi Hyuga nodded, studying the youth. This boy is different than others. Hinata could learn a lot from this boy. When I took Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno with me, I tried to convince them to work with me. I learned that the test was all about teamwork. When I told this to Sasuke and Sakura, they told me that they did not need my help. Because Sasuke was a Uchiha and the Rookie of the Year, he thought he could beat a Jonin that had experience that he could never rival. I do admit that I did lose my cool at the immaturity that both seemed to pour out and said something that needed to get off my chest. In the end, my words could not make them see the reality of the situation. So I did the only thing I did to make them understand the error of their ways. Naruto said, closing his eyes. You gave up, Hiyashi said as a fact rather than a question. Naruto nodded, showing some respect to the man. This was a better punishment than anyone can give him. Naruto said, gaining a wide-eye look from everyone as they caught on to the reason. If Naruto gave up, then Sasuke would lose his chance to go after his brother. He would lose his purpose in life. Also, if Sakura loved Sasuke as she thinks she does, then she lost the chance to be with him. To them, they lost the one thing that made them complete. Sasuke his revenge and Sakura her love. Now they understood. This was a punishment that hit them hard. Unfortunately, this does have some setbacks. Sasuke could leave the village having no attachments to the village, and Sakura could also swear revenge that couldn't hurt a lot of people. A civilian stood up, not able to take the talking of the brat. I've heard enough. You fucking brat telling lies about the brilliant Uchiha. How dare you deny Sasuke-sama his revenge? Now stop this foolishness. We are giving you the honor of being on Sasuke-sama's team. Be grateful we're doing this. A merchant said as he glared at the boy. Naruto just flicked off the man, causing the shinobi side to chuckle and the man to stutter at the lack of respect. Naruto-san, even though the fool did speak out of line, he does has a point. If Sasuke went back to the academy, our civilians and some of our ninjas would riot, and we can't have that. So we ask you to please join the Uchiha. Sume Inuzuka asked calmly. She was shocked as Naruto shocked his head and said no. The council has no control over me, and it will stay like that. I mean no disrespect to you, but understand I do not care much for the people in this village as they have not done anything to help me. Because I'm not a shinobi, I have full rights to leave the village. Now is there anything else? Naruto said with a cold look in his eyes. The chamber was quiet as Naruto looked at the people with a neutral expression. The same civilian who spooked before looked at Naruto. Boy, what's wrong with you? You would be working with the great Sasuke-sama. The civilian said in awe as someone denied to be in Sasuke's presence. This has never happened before. Kid, you should really stay a ninja. A man with a red tunic said as he sat in the window still. Jiraiya-sama, Kakashi said with stars in his eyes. Naruto flinched as he and Kakashi looked at the man in awe. Ah, Jiraiya, can you please persuaded Naruto to become a ninja in the village? Hiruzen said as he turned back to Naruto, only seeing him disappeared. Hiruzen looked back at Jiraiya only to see Naruto and Kakashi bowing at Jiraiya with stars in their eyes. O great Jiraiya-sama, creator of the great and noble Ichi-Ichi paradise. Could you please sign my book? Kakashi nodded as he presented his book. Jiraiya nodded with a smile on his face as he could only smirk. It seems my book is even getting to the younger generation. I couldn't be prouder than I am right now. Jiraiya said as he smiled at the two white-haired people. Once their books were signed, Jiraiya studied Naruto as he cuddled the book. So you're Naruto Uzumaki, huh? I don't know why, but I expected a short kid with blonde hair and blue eyes, not a tall silver-haired boy with purple eyes. Naruto looked at the man with a little suspicion. You're right, I did used to look like that, but not since I was 6 years old. Jiraiya nodded as he put on a serious demeanor. I heard most of what's going on. I understand where you're coming from, kid. But right now you're going to need to become a ninja to help protect yourself as to what's going to come after you. Jiraiya said, gaining a look from everyone in the chamber. Hiruzen looked grim as he sighed. So the Akatsuki are on the move. Naruto looks confused. What are you talking about? Who's this Akatsuki you speak of, and why do they want me? Naruto asked as he felt Kyuubi stir in his mind. The Akatsuki are a terrorist group. You can tell who they are by the black cloak with red clouds on them. Kyuubi growled in his mind as he heard the news. Is there something wrong, Kyuubi? He gained no answer. Naruto put the thought of Kyuubi in the back of his mind for now. But why does this Akatsuki want me for? Jiraiya shook his head and said, no, not you, but what's inside you. Jiraiya said, pointing to his seal. Kyuubi, They're after you. Once again he heard nothing but silence. Do you see why it would be beneficial for you to become a ninja? It's for your own protection. Jiraiya said, gaining smirks from the council. Naruto didn't say anything, he just looked to the ground thinking on all that he heard. Damn it, I don't have a choice but to become a ninja. Most likely they will force me to be with Sasuke. Naruto thought, balling his fist till they bled. Kyuubi, if you're there I could use some of your guidance right now. Just like the rest, he was only given silence that seemed to put Naruto on edge. Naruto took a deep breath knowing that right now he was on his own. He had to think about this seriously. None of the choices he's been given was greatly appealing to Naruto. Get captured by Akatsuki or be on Sasuke's team where my death is almost ensured. There's no right choice here. Naruto thought, only serving to making him angrier. Kid, calm down. You'll only play in their game. Kyuubi said, snapping Naruto out of his rage. Where the hell were you? I could have used some help a long time ago. Naruto said, snapping at the Kyuubi. Kyuubi glared and growled at him, shutting Naruto up. You would be wise not to take that tone with me again, kid. I may be behind a seal, but I can fuck you up from the inside out. Kyuubi said as his threat made Naruto back down. Now, as I was saying, you're looking at this in the wrong angle. They're playing by politics, making you seem as though you have no choice but to bow to their wishes. As my host, I will not allow you to bow to anyone in such a way. Think, kid. You have the knowledge, you just need to figure it out. Kyuubi said seriously as Naruto nodded to himself as he looked at the council as the smirks were still there. Naruto started to add things up, but there was one piece he was missing. Why? Why would they need Kyuubi? It didn't make sense. Until his eyes widened, he couldn't believe how stupid he was. Naruto started to laugh that gathered everyone's attention. You okay, kid? Jiraiya said as Naruto smirked as he glared down at the council. I'm such an idiot. During this whole meeting I really thought that this meeting was about Sasuke's growth, not mine. It plagued me as to why you would need to come get me when you could just as easy assign Sasuke to a new team. I now see what you want. You don't just want Sasuke, you also want me, or to be technical, Kyuubi. Naruto said, gaining wide-eyed looks at the people in the room. I must say, Hokage-sama, this was a nice play. You almost had me. Luckily I remembered the words from a teacher of mine. Look underneath the underneath, Naruto said, looking at Kakashi as he looked away. Me staying here would you have a little bit more control over the Akatsuki situation. I would also make the leaf stronger. I guess this is why I was allowed to go to the ninja academy when I don't have a legal guardian or a clan name. The chamber were quitted as the boy came up with everything they had done. Hiruzen pulled his hat over his eyes, seeing as he has been had. That boy is too wise for his own good. Jiraiya looked at Naruto with a smirk. That type of knowledge doesn't come from reading books. He was taught and raised to think that everything is like a puzzle and needs to be solved. This kid. Naruto looked to the cage and said, my answer is the same, I refuse. The council raised from their seats, angered at what the boy said. Naruto could only smirk in victory as he heard the council rave at his decision. Do you not understand what's coming after you? Let me paint you a picture. 9's class missing nins are coming to get you. Why would you turn down a chance to get stronger? Are you trying to get captured? Jiraiya yelled at the boy. Naruto looked at the man, unmoving by his words. I will only be a ninja if you change the teams. I said it once and I will say it again. I will not be Sasuke's teammate, and that's final. Naruto said stubbornly. Hiruzen took a long drag from his pipe and said, I can't do that, Naruto. We can't change teams. They were built because the people in them fit those needs. Team 7 was supposed to be a combat squad, Team 8 a tracker squad, and Team 10 an interrogation squad. We can't change the teams. Hiruzen said as he saw Naruto nod. I understand where you coming from, Hokage-sama, but I will not work with Sasuke. We can't work together. The fact is you want me to be a shinobi to help crush your enemies. I can't and will not do it with that team. I don't trust Sasuke or Sakura. So I won't do it. If you want me around, then yield to my demands. If you lock me up somewhere, it would just give this Akatsuki and easier time to come to get me. And if they're as strong as you say they are, then they would have no problem getting me and harming others as well. If you block my Charka, that's another step to the Akatsuki. With my ability I would just be like a civilian. They could grab me any chance they get. You are correct though, if I am to survive and keep the Kyuubi, then I need to be trained. I have laid down your options and what you need to do. The ball is in your court now. My life and yours is in your hands. Whatever the Akatsuki wants, it can't be good. Now what will you do? Naruto said with a steely glaze in his purple eyes. They have been hacked. They can't come back with anything. Naruto played them right into his court and he knew it. They don't have a choice but to confide in his wishes. Very well, Naruto-kun. I will put you up for a new sensei since Kakashi is needed to train Sasuke. He's the only one that can. I'm going to put you under apprenticeship so you can do missions with other teams, but you will train alone with your sensei. Is this alright with you? Hiruzen drawing a smirk from the blonde. Yeah, better than I could have hoped for. Naruto said as he relaxed himself. Kid, I'll also be helping with your training when I get back. I have to get more research to know when they are planning to strike. Naruto nodded as he went on his way. If that's all, let us leave. Naruto, meet me in my office about your new sensei. To everyone else, I bid you a good day. With that said, everyone walked out of the chambers except a man who was missing an arm with bandages over one of his eyes. He could only chuckle. That boy, he will make a fine apprentice. Danzo said, smirking evilly. That's all for now. If you enjoy it, then please like, share and do comments.